everyone on September 1st, lock-in day. You're locked in for the month. If you're locked out right now, you need to lock in. You have 2 more days of gallivanting, meandering, dilly-dallying, all sorts of meandering.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you gotta squeeze it in. This Sunday, we're locking in. Everyone here.
What are we locking in for?
We're locking in. It's a new holiday I came up with. September.
Oh,
2/3 of the way through the year.
mm-hmm.
You all need to lock in. It's summer's over. It's the start of fall. It's the start of football season.
Football, 9/11 anniversary right around the corner.
Yeah, I was gonna say you
got to get all your jokes ready.
You've got 10 days to never forget. If you're thinking about forgetting in those 10-day lead up, lock in. Stop forgetting.
Yeah.
Remember. Just lock in.
This is Sam's way of telling you that we have a new sponsor at Uniball. Big Face Coffee has decided to sponsor.
No.
We're stupidly locked in right now for September. Thank you to a friend of the show, Jimmy Butler, who I had nothing but praise for on the stream that we did last night. If you missed that, you can get it on the Uniball Patreon. We watched the Kawhi shot game, and it forever changed my brain chemistry, because now I think that Ben Simmons is innocent and that Brett Brown should be sent to The Hague. I've somehow reversed my history in my brain. I have completely rewritten it in my own mind.
That's so funny. I can't believe how innocent I think Ben Simmons now is after watching even like a portion of that game.
Let's not watch any other Ben Simmons playoff games, and I think that we'll land on the conclusion that he was him.
I kind of think I said last time in the stream, I'm kind of becoming Ben Dietrich. Ben Dietrich was cooking, actually.
Yeah. What did he know?
What did he know? What was in his mind? Only facts.
Ben Dietrich just had a vision into the future in the alternate reality where Ben Simmons never gets a back injury, and also it never has imposter syndrome, which is
the most crippling. It's one of the most crippling things that can happen to someone.
Yeah, especially in your mid-20s to get imposter syndrome. You ever get a job interview you don't think you're qualified for, and then you're sitting there? Imagine that, but you're doing it in front of 20,000 people. Trae Young's trying to block your shot. You would fold too.
I would fold. That's the thing.
I'm not built for it.
Yeah, I'm not built for it. I absolutely would have the career. If I had the athleticism Ben Simmons had, I probably would have had a worse career. Yeah, I'm a quitter. I'm a loser.
I would have never even got it started.
Yeah, no, I would have never. LSU, no way. I would have been on Arkansas, man. It would have been terrible.
That LSU team sucked too.
Yeah, they sure did.
I think Arkansas is actually better at basketball now than LSU, but yeah. Actually, that was post Bobby Portis, so they had and Pat Bev. They had some NBA guys. Arkansas had more NBA guys than LSU.
That's true.
In the years previous to that, obviously, if you go far enough back with LSU, you have Shaq and big baby Glenn Davis, Tyrus Thomas.
Who could forget?
More recently, Naz Reid and Cam Thomas.
That's true.
After Ben.
The greatest. Will one of those guys be making an appearance later in the podcast?
Did Ben Simmons save LSU basketball?
There's a case to be made.
I'm just saying.
Was he innocent? What was he cooking in his mind? I love the revisionist history. I love being in on.
We're rewriting history here.
I love being in on. I love this. I can't believe. I want to stress to everyone it's how much this is not a joke. That
he was hooping in that game, dude.
From rewatching one half of one game, I now think Ben Simmons is innocent.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna start the Ben Simmons Innocence Project, and we're going to, how there's that that organization that just talks about how bad communism is.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that, but with Ben Simmons, it was actually it's everyone else's fault, and Ben is innocent.
We're gonna launder Ukrainian dollars to form a Victims of Brett Brown museum in Canada.
Joel Embiid kills 1 million people every year.
You don't hear about this.
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, okay. Wait, now we're talking about language. Wait, was Jimmy Butler the villain all along?
I know a place where villains are welcome. Too many villains on that Sixers team. Unfortunately, they all wanted to go demon time at the same time, and it was just it is incompatible. Can't have too many demons on one team.
Oh man,
it was frightening rewatching that game and being like, okay, you really had two guys that like legit, like, I know Jimmy wasn't consistently MVP level, but like analytically and in the playoffs at times can play at an MVP level. You have Joel Embiid, who made an MVP leap 2 years later. You had a young Ben Simmons who was still very good two-way player.
Yeah.
And then you just had like basically, you know, a bunch of misfits. Mike Scott, Greg Monroe, James Ennis, old ass JJ Redick, Tobias, who was somehow athletic but worse at basketball than he is now.
Yeah. I couldn't believe how bad Tobias was.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe we were ever discussing like whether or not. Like, I remember thinking, oh, I would have much rather had Jimmy Butler, but I remember being like, I guess if you get Tobias Harris, it's okay, though. Like,
there is revisionist history for that, too. Like, that was a real argument because Jimmy phoned in the whole season and Tobias was cooking his first, like, 3 or 4 weeks with the Sixers. And then, you know, the universe corrected itself and the Sixers were punished for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And the Heat took advantage of the situation. So, all right. Let's get into our list.
Let's go.
I know we're going to spend a long time on this. So
yes, we are.
We're going to do our 25 best players under 25. A lot of people on Twitter have been doing this recently. Sam Vecini recently did his 24 under 24 on his podcast. So we wanted to revisit this exercise that we did a year ago and do a 2.0 version of this. So I went through and I listened to our 25 under 25 podcast from last year. And I think I'll say this much. There are a few that I'm kind of embarrassed by.
Okay.
Overall, I feel fine about my list, though. And I think yours was a bit reactionary to the beginning of last season because we did it a few weeks into the season. We did it like a month into the season, I think.
Let's hear what I said. Do we have the list?
Yeah. Sam's list, and we had the same guy at 25, by the way.
Okay.
Cam Thomas. Let's go. Cam Thomas, 25. Asar Thompson, 24. That's fine. Jalen Johnson, good call from you, 23. Very good one.
Yep.
Now it gets a little wonky.
Okay.
Cason Wallace, 22.
I stand by that.
Okay. Anthony Black, 21.
You know what? I stand by that too.
No, you don't.
I think he'll be okay. I don't have him on this list.
Okay.
I will say that. I don't have him on this list, but I'm not like out on him. I'm willing to hear out Anthony Black down the road being okay. Why was I picking so many rookies? These guys hadn't played yet. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, they had barely played in the NBA, and I think what happened was
I didn't pick rookies this time.
So you also, number 20 on your list was Nick Claxton, who aged out of this exercise, but you forgot about him when we were doing it, and you were like, oh shit, I have to put him on here.
Yeah.
So you just put him at 20. J-Dub, 19, Evan Mobley, 18, Jaren Jackson Jr., 17. This one's pretty tough. Jalen Duren, 16. Remember he had that really hot start to the season last year, and he looked awesome?
I do want that one back.
Yeah.
I do want that one back.
LaMelo Ball, 15, Jaden McDaniels, 14, but then you moved Darius Garland here later because at one point you had Darius Garland in the top 10, but you made fun of me for having Darius Garland at 13, and then so you put him at one spot below at 14. I re-listened. So you pivoted off that.
Strikes again.
So you went back on it. So I'm gonna keep reading and not even try to recalibrate the rest of the list. But Scotty Barnes 13, Franz Wagner 12, John Morant 11, Alperen Şengün 10, and then Garland would have been at 9, but you moved him down. Paulo 8, Halliburton 7, Zion 6, Chet 5, Maxey 4, Wemby 3, Anthony Edwards 2, and Luka 1. Top of the list is good.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Şengün, that's reactionary. I don't like. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get to him later.
Yeah.
Here's my list. Cam Thomas 25, Devin
Let's
Vassell 24. One that I wish that I could have back, and we'll talk about him at some point here. Shaden Sharp 23. Trey Murphy 22, Jaden McDaniels 21. Asar Thompson 20, Cade Cunningham 19. But then I later on a whim switched him out for Claxton because I forgot him. We both forgot Nick Claxton somehow, but he's not even on the list anymore. So J-Dub at 18, Jalen Duren. I also overreacted to the beginning because we were like, he's only 20 and he looks awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
I put him had him at 17, Scotty Barnes at 16, Mobley 15, Şengün 14, Garland 13, Jaren Jackson Jr. 12, LaMelo 11, Franz 10, Zion 9, John Morant 8, Maxey 7, Chet 6, Halliburton 5, Paulo 4, 3, Anthony Edwards, 2, Wemby, and 1, Luka. So we'll go over our newer lists before we talk in depth about these guys, but that's where we were at a year ago on this list. And now just to talk about the few guys that have actually aged out of this list, we have John Morant has aged out, Jaren Jackson Jr., both the Grizzlies guys, and Luka Doncic and Nicholas Claxton have all aged out of this list. Everyone else I mentioned would still be eligible for this list. And I had a hard time leaving a few guys off this list and just wanted to discuss them up top. So
wait, didn't Darius Garland age out too?
No, Darius Garland's 24.
Will he be 24 at the start of the season, though?
Yeah, he turns 25 in January. I looked into this before we did it. Look it up.
Huh. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, wait. Did they have that?
I think the rule should be if they're 24 when the season starts, they should be eligible for this. And everyone that I've included on my list, I checked to make sure that they were under 25.
Bad job by StatHead. They have him as 24 at the start of last season, which is incorrect.
No, so, if it's the age 24 season, it just has to be before the All-Star break or at the All-Star break, I think.
No, not the way I had the thing set up though. I had the filters set up specifically for that with the StatHead to kind of get my list. But anyway, I don't know.
Well,
either way, I gotta do some on the fly things here.
So you had to remove
Darius Garland. Yeah, I got to put
Darius Garland once again is moving around our boards as we see. Yeah. So, all right. So right here, while you move some guys around your list, I'll just talk about the guys that I didn't know what to do with. That's what this list is called. Okay, ready?
Okay.
My guys who I did not include on my list, and there are two different tiers of this for me.
Okay.
Mostly they're the same kind of player.
Okay.
Kuminga, Cam Whitmore, Gigi Jackson, Shaden Sharp, and Jalen Green.
None of those guys made my list either. So
none of them have made my list.
Yeah.
But I do think of anyone that we discuss here, those guys are the ones that I could see their careers going one of two directions. I could see their careers becoming more refined as efficient on-ball scorer type guys. Mm-hmm. And then they become like, if not full-on stars, fringe stars, just really athletic, talented scorers. But I really struggle to see how, unless they reach those higher levels of scoring, like really high, like 60% true shooting, 25 points a game, improve passing and defense, those kind of things. It's not for everyone here. But if they're not the number one guys on their team, which I don't think they will be, how do they fit on teams? That's the thing that I really struggled with those scorer type guys that are clearly have talent. And I think when we say talent a lot, it just means they're athletic and they can score. Like that's generally kind of the rubric I think people have when they talk about like talent. Andrew Wiggins got this a lot early in his career where it was like, Andrew Wiggins is so talented. It's like, well, is he talented or is he just like a vaguely athletic player who can get buckets sometimes? And he figured it out throughout the course of his career. He actually did have the tools to be a capable defender, rebounder in the playoffs, at least that during that one run. shooter, all of those things. He found a way to make himself into like a winning basketball player in a way that the majority of these guys do not throughout their careers. I think Aaron Gordon's another type that kind of fits into this role where it's, they clearly have the tools, but early in their careers, it's a lot of empty calories. There's a lot of overtasking with their ability. And I think that I didn't really know what to do with those guys on this list because I could see them going like literally being bench players and also being like maybe potentially stars.
Yeah, I had a similar thing when it came to like ranking guys by specific. I would have guys who were really good role players right now versus guys who have potential to become
stars
or greater than than that. Like guys that clearly have more potential, but guys who are more useful to good teams right now,
Sure.
And how do you like sort that out? So, we'll get into some of that.
So the other two guys that actually I wouldn't say fit into this category because I don't think that they're these kind, like I actually could see both of these guys. A lot of Rockets come up on this list in general for me.
Yes.
But I didn't include these two, but Tari Eason and Jabari Smith Jr. are two guys that I could see finding a role on a winning team because of the things they do that are not scoring. Like really good rebounders. Jabari's an improving shooter. He's big. I'm not a big Jabari guy in general. I think people know this, but it is undeniable that he's still very young. He's getting better at the things that he was bad at. And I think his defense is a little bit overrated, but I do think that just with his size and his general overall talent, he can get to the point where he's probably a pretty good defender. And then if you're 6'10 and you can shoot and defend, you'll have a 15-year career. That's just kind of how these things work in the modern NBA. So, and then for Tari, it's the complete opposite. Tari's kind of a wild card type player where he gets a lot of steals and blocks, ton of deflections, a lot of rebounds, but he's a very sloppy player. One of my favorite players to watch just because he's kind of a ball of energy, a chaos guy, but I could see him, I have a hard time seeing him fitting into a team as a high-level starter because of all the flaws in his game, but I could see him being an impact bench player on a good team, and that's just not quite enough for me to make this list.
Yeah. No, I agree with I agree with everything you said. I mean, do you want me to run through my guy, like my last cuts on my honorable mentions? A lot of them are the same.
You can, because I have those guys, and then I have my next tier, which is just left off. So you can say yours.
So these are my guys that I just left off. Thank you to Darius Garland for being 24, because I get to do what I really wanted to do, which was leave Devin Vassell off the list. So now he's my first cut.
Can we talk about Devin Vassell real quick? Because I wanted to discuss this on the podcast.
Yes.
I have Devin Vassell or Coby White as my 25th spot.
Okay.
Because these are the two guys that I was trying to choose between. Because if you look at their stats and their overall, like, Coby obviously has this like burst year last year where he kind of comes out of nowhere and should have won most improved player, but Maxey won, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
Whereas Devin Vassell is a guy that I think had really, really high expectations and has just been like pretty good. Like he's been solid. Like, I don't think he is the guy that nerds thought he was going to be 2 or 3 years ago when they would talk about him. But he's also been on a team that now literally has 2 good NBA players, including him, I would say him and Wemby. And then the rest of the team is just kind of just random guys, whether they're young or just not good role players, those kind of things.
And Chris Paul.
And now they have Chris Paul, and they'll have a little bit more semblance of a normal team, I would say, next year, even though I think that, and Harrison Barnes, I think that team's going to be very underwhelming.
They're still going to stink,
because it's just, they just don't have enough talent. But I think that I would like to see where Devin Vassell goes from here. In today, if we're ranking it on the list, the statistics between him and Coby White were almost identical offensively. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I watch a ton of Spurs games. But defensively, metrics and from what people say, Vassell seems to be the better defender. So I guess I have to lean towards him, despite the fact that I did consider putting Coby White here over him.
I will say that Coby White is on my list. And
okay.
Devin Vassell is my first cut. So, so that just a little preview.
All right, I'm going to go the opposite then. I'm going to have
Yeah.
Coby White be my first cut, even though I really like Coby, and I think the fact that he has become the creator shooter combo that he has become is great for Bulls fans and awesome. Like, I mean, he's on a steal of a contract, maybe even gets traded at some point, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bank on the fact, I think Vassell's a little bit younger than Coby White. They're basically the same age, but Vassell's a little bit younger. He's certainly in a context where I think he's going to be able to show it off once Wemby gets really good. I still think he's probably more of a third banana than a second banana on a really good team, like a contending team. So they got to hope that one of those other young guys, or they can acquire someone who's better than him to kind of fill the gap there. But I'll go Devin Vassell, and I'll have Coby White be my first cut, just because you have the opposite. So
yeah. And other guys just running to you. I touched on all of these, like all the Rockets wingy guys, all these guys, like, you know, and the like, you know, Kuminga, Tarius, and Jabari Walker, all guys for me that were close to making the list but left off.
Sure.
I also had some defensive first guards. I had Cason Wallace and Josh Green. I weren't quite enough to get there. Other talented forwards, I had Jovic was another guy I had on my short list. I mentioned Jalen Green just offhand. I also had Jalen Duren and Trace Jackson Davis not quite getting there as well as.
I didn't know if Trace Jackson Davis was old.
He's young enough. He's young enough for it.
Okay. I guess he's still 24. Because he'll turn 25 next season, even though he's only in his second season in the NBA. I'm pretty certain he was 23, almost 24 on draft night.
The one I was thinking about, and I forgot to double check, was Jaime Jaquez. Is he too old for?
No, he's not too old. No, because he was 22 on draft night.
He's an honorable mention as well. So
I would say the Heat guys, I want to see what they do next year in a more expanded role, but they were up for consideration for sure for me. Yeah. I think the idea of what Jovic can become, he could make if he is the guy that I think that he could be, because he's still kind of raw and he's still kind of sloppy a little bit when you watch him, but massive guy who could.
Bad way, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like he's unsalvageable though. Like, he understands like a lot of the like normal stuff, you know. So,
and also, if you're on the Miami Heat, Erik Spoelstra will figure out a way to mitigate your flaws. Like, Tyler Hero was very good on his rookie contract, considering you know, kind of where his career is at now. I think that Jovic is the guy that I'm, of those two, that I could see making a big leap. And I do just want to talk about, like, I know Jaime Jaquez, he really struggled in the playoffs. He kind of struggled down the stretch of the season. Mm-hmm. I do think that the way that the Heat have built their team, just like these huge skilled guys, that is kind of I don't know if they're talented quite enough to really make some noise. They have enough like shooting, spacing, all that stuff. Yeah. But that is kind of the direction the league is heading. And just because Jaquez was 22, 23 as a rookie, it doesn't mean to me that he can't still have some legit upside. Like, I think he's just good at basketball, and he's big and he's skilled. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually he's like a good starter on a good team, if things really kind of work out for the best for him. And if there's going to be any team where it can happen, it's probably going to be the Devil Magic Miami Heat.
I think his upside is like forward Derek White. Like, is like something that, like,
I don't know if I would go that far, but I'm just scenario. In general, I think he'll be.
I'm saying
he could be a good starting forward.
Yeah, I'm saying that's like his ceiling, like is something like that. So
I just don't think his defense is good enough, but I think as a good offensive forward that can hang defensively, and because he has size and he's like kind of a smart player, then I think I think he'll have a long career.
Yeah.
So. The other guys that I had just left off my list, the only guy that you mentioned, the two that I wouldn't have even considered would be the Josh Green thing is like, I like the idea of Josh Green. I just think it's very far from the reality. Maybe he gets to Charlotte and he gets a little bit more opportunity to cook, and he has like, I've talked about it. When Luka was out, I like Josh Green a lot on that Mavericks team. Yeah. Maybe this is the opportunity that he gets to go to a new team, and he can kind of expand his role and really show the level of impact he can reach. But like, and he is kind of a wingy. I know he's like guard wing sized. He's kind of a wingy player. They take a little bit longer to develop, but I would like to see it more consistently from Josh Green before I consider it for something like this. And then Walker Kessler, I wouldn't have even considered at all. I think Walker Kessler stinks.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like very far out on non-offensive centers who like defensively are good, but are limited in what like my whole thing with Walker Kessler has been I think he kind of limits what you do on both ends of the court. Like I think that he's great at exactly one thing, which is rim protecting, and that's a valuable skill to have. I'm not saying it isn't, but I just don't even think he's a starter level center.
Would you rather have Jalen Green or Walker Kessler?
I'll take the upside swing on Jalen Green.
Wow, let's go.
Yeah,
all right.
it's just I'm just not. I think if a smart coach like Will Hardy is like kind of out on you and doesn't play you big minutes, it's not a great sign.
That is a good billing case.
Yeah. And someone in the comments saying I'm saying Rudy Gobert sucks. No, Rudy Gobert is like not good at rim protecting. He's like literally the best rim protector we've seen. And then also on top of that, like Rudy at least will give you more on offense in terms of like as a screener, as a he's more of a traditional five. Like honestly, I think the thing that's disappointed me the most with Walker Kessler is I think he just plays smaller than his size. Like I don't really think he is like the two-way bruising five that people thought he was going to be. And when I kind of liked him as a prospect, I always thought he was going to be able to extend his range. Like I thought that there was like maybe some Brook Lopez upside with the 3-point shooting, and he's just not a 3-point shooter. And if Will Hardy's not letting you shoot threes, you're not a 3-point shooter. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. But anyway, so the other guys that I left off, as I said, Kobe White, I just left off my guy, Brandon Podziemski.
How dare you?
He probably would have been 26 or 27 for me. I could see him making, if he's as good as the Warriors think he is, and as good as the advanced analytics said he was as a rookie, I could see him making his way onto this list. But for me, I need to see it more consistently as a shooter, and I need to see it more consistently as a creator before I buy into him having the upside that I think he can have. He's going to be a good NBA like role player. I just don't know what levels he's going to reach.
This is me snuggling up in the nepotism blanket. You're doubting our nepotist, our beautiful nepotist front office. Bob Myers is gone. I trust the Warriors front office again.
They're smart. They know what they're doing.
They're cooking. Yeah, they're cooking. Like I trust them with Podziemski. They got Steph to extend.
Yeah.
Again, they showed him the low-income housing developments on the blueprints and said, Steph, we need you here. And he agreed to it. So that's
they're amazing. So good that they said, Steph, you're communist / liberal coach, which are being a liberal and a communist are the same thing. If
yes,
you haven't
agreed.
Following.
Yep.
He is going to coach you. We just extended him, and he's still signing up to play for that man until he's 40 years old. So my theory on this is that Steph signed a 1-year extension because he has 3 years left. He wants to play till he's 40, and then he retires.
Yeah, probably.
As a Warrior, like I think we're entering the last. Maybe he does the LeBron thing and decides to play into his 40s, but like I kind of think like Steph's done everything that you can do. Like 4 championships, multiple MVPs, Finals MVP, and this Warriors team at a minimum is going to be fun, and I think they could be a little bit more competitive than people think.
Top 15 guy all time with a bullet, like
top 10.
I was gonna say top 12, but I was like, you can probably argue a little bit around those edges, but like I think he's top 12 at least. So
change the sport. So all right. The other guy that I just left off my list, the other 2 guys I just left off my list were Asar Thompson and Cason Wallace.
Yeah,
so
I also just left off Cason.
Once again, I think Cason will probably never reach the levels that I thought he was going to reach pre-draft just based on his rookie year. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be like the fact that he shot as well as he did as a rookie is great for his career. And one of the reasons why I would have taken him top 5 in the last draft was because I kept saying he's going to be able to shoot and he's already a great defender. Long term, those guys don't fail. I don't care if he's guard size. Like he will have a long NBA career. And I think that his upside could be, one of I don't know if he could reach the Caruso, Derek White level of role player, but and maybe somewhere in that vicinity. And that's, like I said, like a really good young role player. So
I'm still in on him. I'm also realizing I forgot about Asar. Asar also didn't make my list. I had him on here. I think I have Amen on here twice, and I was like, oh, and I deleted it. But I obviously meant Asar. So
yeah. So I have all those guys in terms of just missing my list. Like, it's the only one that I would say I had actually ranked there was Coby White, because I considered putting him 25 because of the season that he had last year, but he's almost 25 now. And I left him off the list entirely. I didn't even rank any of the guys that we've mentioned. So let's get into our actual list. Who do you have?
I was gonna say, can I go first?
Number 25.
You're gonna.
I already said Devin Vassell's my 25. So there you go.
Well, my 25th was Coby White.
There we go.
Perfect. I also had Coby White.
Synergy. We didn't talk about this at all before the podcast, by the way.
I also had him exactly next to Devin Vassell. I had Devin Vassell 26. I just flipped them. And all the things you just said. I just like Coby. I think Coby's more of an engine. This is one of those things where it's like, what do you prefer? Like, Devin Vassell probably brings a little bit more. I want to say he brings a little bit more winning, but I don't even necessarily think that's true. Coby White was in a really bad situation where he was, I think, honestly, I mean, I guess DeMar was the best player on the Bulls, but like he was just kind of had to piece together on the fly a bunch of these things. It's probably not a very valuable skill to be a combo guard. Like that's a death knell for being a useful NBA player. If somebody's calling you a combo guard, that's bad.
That's a slur.
Yes, it really is.
Combo guard.
He is a combo guard, which is just, that's brutal. But like, I don't know. I really like Coby. I think he's really developed, and I just trust him to be better than Devin Vassell. I'm still not sure Devin Vassell is good. I've at least seen Coby White be a good part of like competent teams. I've never seen Devin Vassell on a competent team. And he's been playing next to Victor Wembanyama. So that was just my difference. All the same things you just said about like splitting the hairs between them. Their stats are identical. Yeah. Devin Vassell's probably a better defender. He's positionally probably more useful. He's probably more useful on a winning context, to be honest, just because he is a wing. But I don't know. I trust what I've seen more with Coby. And I have to see you contribute to winning on like a good team. So
the thing with Coby is that I felt like a lot of times last year when I watched the Bulls, the only reason the Bulls ever won games was because Coby and DeMar just took over down the stretch of these games. Like they kind of had, it was a lot of it was like ISO Cook kind of situation, especially with DeMar. But Coby is a guy who's capable on the ball, capable off the ball. To me, he's like a middle-class Tyrese Maxey, basically. Yes. Like if Maxey is, because of the elite's touch and speed and the traits that he has, Coby is just like a notch below that. And because it is that really hard needle to thread to be an effective player as a combo guard, I think that he's like about as far down as I would go if I'm building a team of guys that I would be fine with having on my team, because he actually is a really good shooter. He actually does have this elite speed, and once again has shown, I know he's been kind of up and down throughout his career, but has shown something. I know his defensive metrics aren't great, and he had a bad defensive year last year, but has shown something defensively throughout his career. Like he has had moments and times where he's not like the worst defender on the court. And if you're building a team, you just hope that he's going to be your worst defender when he's on the court.
With guards, it's more about tools and engagement and what you've got around you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, he's probably never going to be a positive defender, but like, it's less important for guards than it is for front court players. So,
especially ones that are like as versatile offensively as Coby is. Like, I think I think one of the reasons why Coby is, valued in the way that he is now is because he has just become a really versatile offensive player that can play with stars, can play without them, and that's kind of valuable.
Honestly, not to spoil where we're going to go later on, but he really is like the ultra discount version of Maxey.
I just said that.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right. That's why it's in my head. Let's go.
Literally just said that.
I'm dying. Leave my
I
brain
said
alone.
I said middle class Tyrese Maxey was my.
Well,
yeah.
I don't hear class things like that.
Oh, okay,
I hear middle class.
You're
things
yeah. You're so class conscious that you're
I'm not tweeting. Look, no phone. I'm innocent. I'm not tweeting right now.
You're not. I've seen. Your mind is somewhere else. I understand.
No. I'm
too much Devin Vassell talk for your.
Yeah, I was
for
gonna
your,
say I got mad.
I had Devin Vassell 25. The thing that I think that Vassell might have over someone like Kobe or just in general might really start to show us is like his shooting and his finishing are very, very good. Like he, as a on-ball guy, as a guy who can create his own shot occasionally in a pinch, someone who has a versatile shot chart. Like if you look at a shot chart, he takes shots from all over the court. And I know defensively he hasn't been the guy. The thing is that everyone thought that Vassell was going to be like this defensive stud coming out, and he's kind of been underwhelming in the NBA, but he's still like a good team defender. And I think that can get you pretty far when you're a good offensive player. So I'm gonna trust the people who watch him more than me on the defense stuff. But I'm gonna go full Bill mode here again. But I just think that like I literally every time I watch a national television game with Vassell, I felt like he's a big game player. He shows up for the TNT games, like because they were only putting them on because Wemby was on the team.
Yes,
but he had like 2 really good games when I watched him on national TV, and I was like, all right. There's something here. He was 23 last year. He'll be 24 this year. Wingy type guys tend to take a little bit longer to develop. So I think that he could be, when he's in his 25, 26 season, could be just like a third or fourth good starter on this Spurs team. So we'll see. But I don't want to talk about Devin Vassell anymore. I can't do it with him. We talk about Devin Vassell so much on this podcast
because it's a nerd hang up, and it like makes me irritated. I feel I have to push back. Like I don't think Devin Vassell bails the Bulls out if you swap him and Kobe.
No, I don't think so either.
I think
me they're interchangeable on my list. Like you could talk me in either direction with one of those guys, but 24 on your list. Who do you have?
24 on my list is going to make Will mad. I have Deni Avdija at 24.
Oh, I have Deni Avdija at 23.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Do you want to know who I have for 24? Which is going to make Will even more mad, so this is going to be fun.
Yes.
I have Jaden McDaniels, 24.
Let's go!
So, I had him higher on my list last year, I think, or I might have had him in the same range. I think you had him higher
him
on your list.
You just said last year. And he is lower on my list this year.
I had him 21. I moved him down a little bit just because I don't think the offense has come along in the way that I thought it would. Like he's still a valuable player on a good team. And is a very versatile, good defender. 6'10", can protect the rim, can protect on the perimeter, is a good guard defender on the perimeter. I think that all of the things that he does defensively is really where he brings you the value. I just thought the offense would have been a little bit better, and the shot has been so up and down in his career. If you're not going to be an elite willing shooter, you have to just get better on offense. The good thing is he can handle the ball. When he does actually get to the basket, which is not often, he finishes at a very high clip. Like, I think that there's a world where if he continues to progress as a shooter, he's an elite play finisher on offense who just is really a good defensive, versatile wing. Yeah.
I think what kind of changed how I saw McDaniels is I got to see him in like more playoff games versus like last year. And it jumps out how skinny he is, right? Like
Luka bullied him, but Luka bullies a lot of people.
That's true. But like, I don't know, like he really is more of a guard and straight up wing defender. Like he can't guard your beefier fours. Like he can't guard Jason Tatum if you ever got
Tatum or Luka. And those are the guys that you would hope that he can if you get to those levels of the playoffs, which they did.
Yeah. Well, and they're going to need that. Yeah, exactly. For that exact reason. Like Anthony Edwards is like a little bowling ball, but he's like not tall enough. And it's just like, they're going to struggle with like wing size. Luckily, there's not a ton of that in the West necessarily. So maybe it's not but that just kind of changed how I saw McDaniels a little bit.
So Jaden McDaniels, if you're watching this right now, punch more walls. Because then you won't have to play in the playoffs. And then like just before, just punch another wall break bones, and then your reputation will just hold up perfectly because people won't see Luka Doncic sending your shit for an entire series. But no, McDaniels is good.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. I've settled into. I took a lot of my ceiling off him this year. I think he's probably going to be what he is.
Just a good role player.
Yeah.
Just a good role player, but still young enough that could maybe reach star level impact as a role player type guy. Okay.
So I had Denny Avdia.
We had Denny Avdia. You had him 24. I have him 23.
Yeah.
I mean, Denny's probably the one that made the biggest leap in my mind over this last year, just because he was on a dog shit Wizards team with a bunch of basketball terrorists, and he ended up becoming, just a really good, solid, all-around defender. I mean, he's always been a good defender, but really good perimeter defender with decent size that is, a good versatile offensive and defensive player. I think that's just valuable. I wish he didn't go to Portland, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing that sucks is I felt like if he got traded to the Sixers or one of these teams that needed a guy like him, then it would have been great because his stock would have been through the fucking roof next year. But, are we going to see that in Portland, or is it just going to be more of the same like it was in Washington?
Well, it is different too, because in Washington, there were just literally no good players.
Yeah.
The Portland kind of has a problem where they have a bunch of C- players. You know what I'm saying? Like they have a bunch of guys. Denny is probably better than those guys, but he's probably going to get squeezed in by all of these guys. They kind of have to play. Scoot is obviously not better than Denny Avdia. They're going to need to play Scoot, probably with Denny a lot of the time. My thing with Denny, because here's the thing. I fully concede that Denny could be when we're doing this next year and you're reading off my list from last year, I concede that it's going to be wow, Sam, you had Denny at 23 and now he's 12. You know what I'm saying? He has all of these improvement looks. It's literally just can I see it? You know what I'm saying? All the stats were there, all the things. I want to see Denny in a more normal context, do it again for one more season before I get out over my skis. This is the opposite of a one good season thing. He's 6'10", he's got all the tools. He shot really well. He's been okay at shooting all of these other years. This was by far his best shooting season. But
that needs to be a regular thing, though. It can't just be the McDaniels thing where McDaniels shoots 38% and everyone's oh, he's a good shooter now. And then it regresses to 34% of wherever he was at last year. But I love KJ's comment here. Portland is just NBA witness protection. You just forget these guys exist.
Speaking
Jeremy Grant? What the fuck? He's still alive?
I went from hating Malcolm Brogdon to I don't think about you at all. Bad Men meme. By the way, Will sent me something really funny. It was a Bleacher Report article, and it said Warriors targets, and the Warriors targets for this season were LeBron James.
Oh, good.
Kawhi Leonard.
Perfect.
And then Malcolm Brogdon. It was the funniest.
Same tier of players.
Yeah. Will said that to me. It cracked me up. It was really funny. But
those are the guys that the Warriors need to get over the top.
Yeah.
One of those three, any of them. Just pick them.
Denny is kind of my not out of nowhere guy, but it's just you did this on a bad team. Let me see you do it for a good team, which he won't do in Portland. But if he has one more good year in Portland, it reaffirms him a little better. And a lot of the guys I have above him have been doing it more consistently, at a similar level for longer. So
the nerds are very excited about Portland next year. I get it. I think that because they have Klingon coming in, they just traded for Denny. They have a lot of exciting young players, Sharp, Scoot, all those guys.
Yeah.
I just want to temper your expectations for what the Portland Trailblazers can actually do in the win column next year. One, I don't think they care about winning. I think they're in it. They're in the tank for one more year. They know how good the West is. They know they need a franchise cornerstone. That's kind of the thing. It's I like Shaedon Sharp, but he hasn't produced to the level that you would be oh, he's for sure a franchise cornerstone. Klingon is probably going to be an impactful, good defender, but after Scoot's rookie year, you really can't bank on anything, and they need to just keep taking shots. And I just don't think that they're going to win any more than 25 games next year. despite the fact that like they clearly have talent on the roster, it's just all either talent that is what I just talked about, where it's like they get buckets, maybe inefficiently and not effectively. So it seems like they're a little bit better than they are. Guys like Simon, Sharp, Scoot. And then also on top of that, like how do all these pieces fit? Maybe Denny and Klingon make it work a little bit more, but it is just going to be interesting to see what this team actually can do in the win column, because I think they'll steal some wins here and there, but I still think this is going to be one of the 3 or 4 worst teams or 4 worst teams in the NBA next year for sure. Yeah.
Will wants to know, what position is Shaedon Sharpe?
I will die on my deathbed. I will be fighting for the fact that Shaedon Sharpe is the 2. Anyway.
I say he's the 3.
He might have to be a 3 on this team is the thing, is that they've kind of, if they're not willing to trade Simons, they have to play 3 guard lineups at a minimum, and it will force Sharpe to the 3. So we might get here next year, and we might be looking at the Basketball Reference thing, and it actually says that he played at the 3 more than he played at the 2, just based on roster construction alone. And then I will jump out of my second story window and kill myself for being wrong about this one thing that I care so deeply about. So anyway, who's 23 on your list?
23 on my list is Keegan Murray.
I have Keegan Murray at 22. God damn. We're very similar.
Jesus.
Jeez. All right, Keegan. Okay, so Keegan, by the way, Will said this earlier. He said, Keegan Murray's on this list. Isn't he like 40 years old?
I was surprised he qualified, to be honest.
He's still 24.
Yeah.
He just turned 24 too. So he does officially qualify for the list.
Yeah.
He was an older guy on draft night. I think he was 21 going on 22 on draft night.
Yeah.
Offensively had a disappointing second season, which really just means that he didn't shoot very well. Defensively though,
to your point, Denny had a better season than Keegan, and it wasn't close last year.
Yeah.
And I have Denny lower. Keegan's been in the league longer, and I've seen Keegan in playoff games.
That's not true.
Oh,
Keegan has
really?
been in the league 2 years less than Denny. Denny's been in the league since 2020.
That's what I'm saying.
But no one cared about him his first 2 years.
I guess it's true. Fuck. Keegan has been performing in games that matter longer. Yeah, I guess is a better way to put that.
So Keegan, I just think Keegan, what is the word I'm looking for here? He has more, it starts with a P, pedigree in terms of was a really good college player, came into the league and was on a playoff team in his first year and performed, like you said.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be like this 6'7", 6'8" movement shooter that really is something that everyone is looking for, and was going to be solid defensively, but he actually had a really good defensive year last year. That was the thing that really surprised me, and I think a lot of people, was that he was taking up tough assignments on defense. He improved metrically across the board, and it was on a team that really needs defenders. Him and Keon Ellis are so important to what the Kings want to do, because all of their best players tilt to offense, and they tripled down on that this year by getting DeMar DeRozan. So the only thing I will say is I could see the DeMar thing being both good and or bad for Keegan this year, because DeMar is obviously going to take shots and touches away from him, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that is something in some situations it might stunt your development, but in a situation where Keegan is already kind of, I don't even want to say he's a limited offensive player, but he's not a super creator wing type that guys are looking for. He's not a Jason Tatum. He's not a Paul George type. He is just going to be probably more of an off-ball wing on offense that is effective in that way, especially if the shot recorrects. And then defensively, now that he is, legit on that end, then you have a guy who's just a two-way forward with good tools and can fit on any winning team.
Yeah. And career 38% three-point shooter also, which is way higher than I thought it was.
And his volume was crazy, if I remember correctly, as a rookie. I think he actually was close to, if I remember correctly, I think he was close to breaking the NBA record for made threes as a rookie, because he took so many and made so many. So he was up there. He's top 10 all time, I think. That might be wrong, but I'm fairly certain he took a ton and made a ton as a rookie. He actually had like a down year as a corner 3-point shooter this past season, I think, but I think that will balance out. Like he's a good enough shooter.
Yeah.
That I think I think you're going to be looking at a guy that's just going to be on winning teams for his whole career.
To me, Keegan is what people think Devin Vassell is. Like that is, that's how I feel about Keegan. The way people talk about Devin Vassell is how I feel about Keegan. So
he's, most threes made as a rookie, 204 or 206 in his wow. Yeah. So as a rookie, he made the most. So that's once again, if the shooting balances back out to be where he was at as a rookie, and getting DeMar and moving him off the ball to get him in more catch and shoot situations might help with that. So I think that could end up being good for his development as opposed to bad. So I had Keegan 22. Who did you have 22?
22, I had this is I don't think we're gonna agree on this one. I've got my guy Jalen Suggs. Let's go.
I actually had Jalen Suggs higher.
Really? Wow, let's go.
I had Jalen Suggs at 20.
Okay. Well, that's still within 2 places. We're perverts.
Yeah, we're very, very close. I can't believe we did not talk before.
We didn't talk about this at all. Yeah.
Okay. So Jalen Suggs, tell me why you have him at 22.
I just think so. He kind of is. He's new Marcus Smart, which is always gonna like impress me. We've seen him. I like he's kind of come along. He's a guy who, again, pedigree is a good word. He's a guy who had a lot of pedigree coming in. Hit huge shots in the tournament.
Dated Haley Van Lith.
Is that true?
Or Paige Buckers? What's her name? Paige Buckers?
One of them is a hooper and one of them is not. If he dated Paige Buckers, that's terrible.
He dated one of them. Someone can confirm in the comments, but anyway.
Yeah, terrible because man. You fumbled.
Oh, he's just friends with Paige. Never.
Okay,
mind.
He's friends. Okay.
Damn.
I was gonna say if you fumbled Paige, you need to. Terrible.
You're moving him off the list.
Yeah. I was gonna say you fumbled
Beckers. I apologize.
Yeah, Beckers. She's gonna be the women's GOAT. Caitlin Clark has like 6 months to get that together. But anyway, I just think like he is like a defensive guard, which is something that probably is a little bit overrated. But he also understands it, and he's a competent shooter, understands his role, can kind of play within that. It's kind of weird. It's the Smart. He's probably not going to be as good of a playmaker as like Smart and Lowry and like other guys like in this mold necessarily, but he does have like the tenacity. He has the tools. I just really like him, to be honest. Like I can't. It's hard for me to kind of like put it into words, just because I really enjoy.
My comp for him is Alex Caruso. Like I just think he's going to be the best point of attack defender in the NBA, if not the best, one of the 3 or 4 best. Offensively is going to, especially if the shooting holds up. I know Caruso just had his best shooting year. Suggs just had his best shooting year. The question mark for him, and honestly, one of the biggest, like, if you want to huff on the hopium, if you have a shitty young player on your team, like Scoot Henderson, for example, I think literally Suggs said this on Russillo's podcast. He was like watching Scoot, seeing, that he is very low in all these numbers, like analytics and just efficiency and all that shit. That's where Suggs was as a rookie offensively. Like he was kind of a disaster. And he's gotten slowly better over the last few years. I don't know if he's ever going to be good enough with the ball to be like, to even reach those like the guys you were comparing him to level. But if he's a good spot up shooter, and
he's a better shooter than those guys,
good rebounder,
Mm-hmm.
good passer, great athlete, and defensively is just a monster, then that's a valuable player on any team. And that's why I said like Caruso, who probably maybe even a better version of Caruso, to be honest with you. And if you could reach those levels, that's like a highly, highly impactful player on any team in any era of the NBA. And I like I said, I think he literally said on Russillo's show that seeing how bad he was as a rookie, and like the fact that he was like no one's ever mentioned this before, but he was a football player before. Like, I think he came to basketball I knew that he played basketball in high school, but I think football was his main sport until later because he's just such a crazy athlete. To see where he's gotten between now and where he was as a rookie is kind of mind-blowing. And also has that dog in him for sure. I mean, he hit a game winner in college. That will always stick in my mind. I'm like, this guy just has the juice.
I loved him coming. I couldn't believe I would have picked him even higher. Like when the Magic picked him 5th, I think, because they picked Barnes because the Raptors picked Barnes over him, and
everyone made fun of him. Fun of him, and the Barnes pick ended up being a great pick for the Raptors. And then they got Suggs. They got Suggs and Franz 5 and 7, I think.
Well, and Suggs looked so bad. It looked like Franz was like, wow, they got the better player. Because again, he had those horrible years. But I'm always going to be a Suggs guy. He's exactly the type of player. I love guards who are dogs and do all the extra junkyard stuff, so he's just very much my type of player. I really enjoy him. And I think he's going to be a really good contributing player for a long time. Even if it's not with the Magic, he's going to have real value to a lot of teams. He probably have some of the highest trade value of some of the guys we've listed so far.
I'm interested to see what his contract looks like because he hasn't gotten extended yet.
Yeah.
And he was that 2021 class with Franz, and Franz already got his max extension. So I'm assuming he probably comes in around 24 to 26 million a year, maybe.
I was gonna say 22 million, and then I was thinking that was low with the new CBA.
So with the new CBA, and the percentage of the cap that it is, and think about guys like McDaniels, who we just talked about, that got somewhere in that range. I think he got even a little bit more. Vassell got a little bit more than that too. So maybe he's pushing for upwards of 30 million a year, and they're trying to give him to take a little bit less. But the only thing I will say about Suggs, and this is something that Mateo, who's a huge Magic fan and love Suggs, has brought up, is guards who struggle to create for themselves and for others in the half court can have a limited ceiling, but he's so good at everything else that I think that he's just going to be a winning player for a long time.
And guys sometimes get better. Derek White got better at that.
Mm-hmm.
Derek White, used to be kind of similar to Suggs. Will brought this up in the comments. Derek White's made a lot of leaps as a playmaker. He's a much better player. Yeah. And a shooter, well, obviously his shooting improvement is way bigger, but something I've noticed since he's been on the Celtics, he's become a much better playmaker. Because I was really concerned about having Derek White run pick and roll, and he's gotten a lot better at it. So
I'm going to be nice here, and we're just going to move on. I'm not going to slander Marcus Smart. Now we're up to that was your 22, my 21.
Yes,
we might have the same guy.
No, we don't. I know we don't.
Because you have Jalen Suggs?
At 21?
Yeah.
No. I have Jalen Suggs at 22.
Oh, you have Jalen Suggs at 22. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I have Amen Thompson at 21.
Wow. I have Amen Thompson higher. That's crazy. I would have never thought that.
I'm surprised you have Amen Thompson higher than me. Here's the thing with Amen Thompson.
He's the biggest theoretical player I think we're going to get to on this board.
I talked about with the guys that I just left off the list, all of the bucket getter guys. I could see it going in one direction or the other.
Yeah.
Amen is incredibly athletic, smart player. He honestly might be the best athlete in the NBA. He's one of the 5 best athletes in the NBA at a minimum.
Yeah.
The way that he moves on the court is crazy. I think that, and Asar, who I just left off this list, I think he's just a little bit more athletic than Asar. I think he's a little bit more skilled than Asar, and he's on a better team. So it's the odds that he reaches his potential are probably higher than his brother just based on those facts alone. So my thing with Amen is I'm a little bit concerned that with both the Thompson twins that you can't just be the worst shooter in the NBA anymore. They were the worst 2 shooters in the NBA.
Just dropped.
Yeah. And if you're going to, and I think I literally said it, I had him 3 on my board pre-draft.
Yeah.
And I think my comp for him was normal brain Ben Simmons, a smaller normal brain Ben Simmons, high field player who can do a little bit of everything, but he's either got to completely ditch the shooting altogether and figure out a way to make himself into more of a I guess like a early Nets Bruce Brown type where he's like kind of functioning as like a big man almost, or he needs to figure out a way just to make spot up threes at a decent clip. And like it's a very large gap between shooting 16% and getting to the point where you can take like 2 or 3 threes a game and make even 30% of them. So that's my concern. But like, he really does pop off the screen when you watch him. Like defensively, he's a beast. The rebounding is, dude, he averaged almost 4 offensive rebounds per 36 last year. And one of the things is that if you're going to be a bad shooter where the defense just leaves you alone and you have to be a really good offensive rebounder. Like
it literally saved Russell Westbrook's career.
Russell Westbrook. I mean, Josh Hart is the most recent example of a guy that was just like basically willed his way into becoming a good role player despite having a ton of limitations in his game. And that's, to me, the upside for him is like, we talk about like this Josh Hart, Bruce Brown level guy, but with like explosive, crazy athleticism.
He's got such a high ceiling, you know, like I liked Ausar more coming out because Ausar I thought fit more, had a better chance to succeed as like a ancillary guy, as like a starter guy without the ball. I thought Amen needed the ball more, but then, you know, Ausar has ended up in Detroit, unfortunately, which so not on this list. Amen, like I think is kind of going to get a chance to cook a little bit, like because Fred VanVleet is going to kind of be gone next year. They didn't pull the trigger on like.
Maybe. I mean, but then again, what if Reed is really good? What if Reed comes in and like can handle the ball and is like, that's the thing, is like they have so much to figure out with the Rockets.
That's true. But the thing is, like, Reed is kind of got like that Steph malleability that Amen doesn't have. You know what I'm saying? You're going to want Reed off ball whenever Amen's on the floor. You're going to want Amen on the ball. Like, and like, I think that they've got the spacing in a lot of these other places to like make it happen. I had him 18, which is
okay.
Great. Yeah.
I have him 21 right now. Once again, there's always a chance with the Thompson twins that the fall floor's out, but I do, what did I say? The fall floor's out? The floor falls out. I am drunk off of the 25 under 25 podcast. I think that there is a chance that happens, but they're such crazy athletes with such good feel that I think they're just going to figure out a way to be effective. And Amen is like next level athlete. Like when you watch him, it's just like, there's very few guys I can remember as rookies that looked as explosive as he did.
I know that like technically the passing numbers aren't necessarily there, but you can tell watching guys that like have feel. You know, I think he
has crazy high feel. Is that he has high feel off the ball as well. Like he knows when to cut. And like I said, like he knows how to position himself to get those offensive rebounds. He's going to have I think he's going to have a fairly long career. And I do I like the idea of the player that he can become for sure.
I really don't like guys who can't shoot, especially when it's a non-big position. I think he's probably the best it's going to, for a guy who can't shoot, he's probably the highest I can possibly be on a guy that I'm not super confident he's ever going to be more than like a 32% 3-point shooter.
Well, that's the thing that kind of does suck about this era. I think we've talked about this before, that like, there just needs to be more pathways for guys like him and like Tari, who we talked about, like a few of these Rockets guys, that it's like, just because you're not like like you can't there. And to be clear, there is a difference between not being able to shoot at all and being able to shoot a little bit. Like the gap between him and even someone that I just compared him to like Josh Hart is like massive.
Yeah.
But I would like to see the league just make like a role for, like, figure out ways to make roles for these guys so that they can play together without it completely, just submarining their careers.
I agree with Stephen B. Smith. It's a thing we've been banging on for like 3 years. It's expansion. I can't believe they haven't expanded yet. This is so annoying. Just fucking do it. There's there's zero downside to it. I have no idea what you're going to get a huge buy-in from.
It's just going to take so long. I mean, we just saw Lonnie Walker sign an Exhibit 10 contract last night.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
we've seen so many guys that are like currently free agents that like should be on rosters, that I think we have gotten to a point where there is enough of a talent boom and enough of an appetite for that shit that we should see it sometime in the next few years. So, okay. On to the next one. We've already talked about Jalen Suggs. I had him at 20. Who did you have at 20 on yours?
20 on my or 21.
21. You're still at 21. Okay.
Yeah, still at 21. Now it's time for Brandon Podcast. Let's go.
Let's go.
My guy, Mr. Podziemski. I love when my guys pan out, and my guy panned out. Like, all right, so let's get there. Like, because we were just making fun of Kobe White for being a combo guard, like, and how that's like a death knell. I think Podziemski had all those indicators. I think the rebounding held up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it
right?
translated.
Yeah, it translated
big time.
Big time. That's a huge difference right there. Even if Podziemski is a little bit like undersized to be like a true like wing style player, and he does have to be more of a guard, that plus size rebounding is really going to help him. He was an excellent shooter for a good team, was an important part of the rotation. I think he's like on the track to be like NBA starter, like caliber guy, which I didn't necessarily see in the cards for him. I thought he was going to be like more of a like rotation player.
Yeah, I think the thing that we thought for him was like fringe starter that can just like impact winning in a way, because we talked about like the rebounding, the steals, all the things that he had these indicators in his numbers, and when you watch him on tape, like he shot a little bit above his head that 1 year in college, if I remember correctly, from mid-range, I think. But he showed enough on tape that you were like, oh, like this guy's going to be able to figure out, and he got drafted to the perfect fucking spot. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Oh, cool. Go to a read and react team where you get to work off of Steph Curry's gravity, and it opens up everything for you. And this is a team that needs good rebounders. This is a team that needs active defenders. This is a team that just needs literally anyone with upside. And he has that. He was super productive as a rookie.
Yep.
And once again,
which is so rare, by the way. It's so rare to be like a good as a rookie.
As Nate points out, the only people that hate pods are Warriors fans. It's the only time in NBA history where a team's fans underrate their rookie and everyone else is higher on him.
Yeah,
like
I think there's a bit of a civil war. A friend of the pod, Gladio Langford, told me that he is a pods guy, I believe. Yeah. So I don't think it's all Warriors fans, but
it's not all Warriors fans. I think it's just the most largely outspoken ones, and most is all just due to the backlash of the fascist Steve Kerr playing too many guards. That's just because they've gotten it in their brain now that playing guards is just a bad thing to do, even though like guard play is still essential to like winning in the NBA. The difference is that
they won 3 championships just playing guards.
I do think that the fact is that like the Warriors are just kind of an odd team, and the way that they've constructed their roster up until this roster really has been so weird over the past few years, the post 2 years that they after the championship, that it's kind of scrambled and broken a lot of their brains to the point where they're posting QAnon conspiracies on Twitter anyway.
They have no idea how badly Bob Myers fucked them, and like what a miracle job this new front office has done getting them out from under the guillotine. Like, he really left them a fucking nasty ass mess. I think I can't believe how well it's panned out for them. Like,
we've never talked about it on the podcast before, so we should probably dive into this further.
I know. I hate him so much. Every time I have to like see him on ESPN, it makes me so mad.
Well, don't worry. He's running for president in a few years. We'll get our chance of vote. Remember when Zach used to say that on the podcast all the time about how Bob Myers could run for office in California? And I'm like, just because he's like a zero personality guy that wears a suit and like can talk to rich people and has like J. Cole on his like mind thought experiment podcast, I don't think that he could ever run for office and win.
I can't tell if like is everyone who works for an NBA front office that much of a charisma suck that like Bob Myers pops. Like, that can't be true.
It has. I mean, I literally just watched him go on television for a year and just bomb every fucking game he did.
Yeah. How do you like Doc Rivers is right there. Doc Rivers would be an actually good politician.
Yes.
He's so much better than Bob Myers.
Not even close. I mean, he's better at media. He's better at bullshitting. He also is like,
he's funny.
He's funny, and he also has the characteristic that every kind of politician has, where he can just like consistently weasel his way into new things.
Yes.
Which like honestly, like how many politicians and how many like powerful figures have we been like, oh, that person's not going to be around for long, and it's like 20 years later, and they're like, they got another fucking coaching job somehow.
Yes.
Yeah,
God.
no, Doc is the one that he should have been saying could have run for office and won easily, and he'd just be golfing full time. It would be perfect for Doc. It would be great for his lifestyle. But yeah, please, God, Bob Myers is going to be on ESPN again this year, is he?
Yeah, I think he is.
That'd be absolutely fucking
really sucks.
Brutal.
It makes me so mad, dude. It just like ruins national TV games. Just get a normal person. Like at least put him in the stupid halftime show. Stop putting him in the fucking booth.
Yeah,
please, God.
So
anyway, Podziemski's great though.
Also, I just wanted last thing about Myers.
Yeah.
The only guy I've seen work for a team for a decade, get a job, and then have nothing insightful to say about the team that he worked for a decade.
Awesome.
He literally was on TV for a year and said like maybe one insightful thing, and it was like I didn't want to have to be the one that tells Klay Thompson you can't make money, basically.
Yeah, we all knew that. Like, no shit, you're a coward.
You're a coward, Bob Myers.
Yeah. Loser.
Grow some balls.
But
yeah, Pods rules. The thing that the only thing that I care about seeing with him, and it's something that they said to him. Did you see the interview that he did, Podziemski?
No.
Did you see the quotes that came out?
No.
So he did an interview and he said that they want him to take 8 to 10 threes next year, which that's where I want to see him up his volume and his efficiency from three. I know that he shot kind of shitty from the line. I think he's going to be a passable shooter. And if he's a willing one, that's going to open up a more willing shooter. That's going to open up so much for him in this Warriors offense where like he's good at the read and react shit. He's good at like extending possessions with the rebounds. And then I think the last piece of his game is just becoming like, even if he's a 36% 3-point shooter and he's taking 8 threes a game, like that could really change things. And another part of this interview that he talked about was he was like, they told me they believed in me, like they see me as like a high upside player, and you know that's why they didn't trade me for Lauri Markkanen. And I just want everyone to know that it's like, it's not my fault that they didn't trade me for Lauri Markkanen. Like, don't be mad at me. Fuck off, dude. He probably got so many comments on his Instagram or his TikTok or something that he was like, fuck off.
Also, like if they traded for Lauri Markkanen, like it would have just ruined they're not winning the title if they trade for Lauri Markkanen. Like
that's the thing that my opinion on what the Warriors ceiling could be with Lauri Markkanen was so different than everyone else. I felt like everyone else in media and it's just like, oh yeah, well they'll be one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the West. And I'm like, what? Like Lauri would be a great fit, sure, and would solve some of the size issues they have, but like,
are they better than the Nuggets and the Wolves? I don't know.
I don't think they're better than the Thunder. I don't think they're better than like. I think they would move themselves up into like
the best team in the West.
Sure, that's what I'm saying. So like, they're not in the top 3.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You've got to be better than the Wolves, in my opinion.
I will stand on. I think they made the right decision not trading for Lauri Markkanen, and I think their best move is just to stay competitive in this window. And if a trade comes along that makes sense, that isn't like selling off your future to Danny Ainge so that he can fucking run your franchise into the ground like he's done so many times.
Yeah.
Then I think that is not so many. He really only did that once, to be fair. But either way, I'm just saying, I think that they made the smart move by being patient and seeing what Pods can do and what these new additions can do with the team next year too. And then maybe something that, whether it's a star that's truly worth selling the farm for, like Giannis, so I don't think that's realistic, but like someone like that, or if there is someone that just fits a little bit better and the price is a little bit more reasonable, then they should make a swing for that at like the next deadline or something. So, okay. So I have, that was your 21?
That was my 21. Yeah.
All right. Who's your 20?
Jaden McDaniels, who we already talked about.
Okay. We talked about him.
Yeah.
I
made Will mad to hear me have Podziemski under McDaniels, but
we talked about Suggs, who I have at 20. My 19.
Okay.
I have Brandon Miller as my 19.
I forgot about Brandon Miller.
Let's go.
Fuck. God damn it.
Let's go.
Son of a bitch.
You know ball podcast, baby. We always forget about at least one or two guys.
He wasn't in the top of VORP? That doesn't seem possible.
His BPM and he was not VORPing and Schnorping last year.
He was not VORPing and Schnorping last year. No, but I went really far down though. How did he not? His games or something.
His analytics weren't good after his rookie year. I'll be honest.
Crazy. Wow.
But this is purely a Hooper eye test pick for me. This is purely a, hey, here's a 6'7" guy who was a hyper productive freshman wing in college that has defensive tools, that is a good ball handler, that shot incredibly well from mid-range and created his own offense, and is a good 3-point shooter, and those guys just don't fail. Like, that's just kind of the feel that I have on Brandon Miller. And he was a little bit older as a rookie. I do want to point that out. He's like 21, even though he was a one and done in college. Just like, I'm assuming a weird COVID thing, but like very clearly going to have a long NBA career. And he's the kind of guy that a lot of these teams are looking for.
I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm leaving him.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I'm not.
You're sticking to your guns.
I'm sticking to my. There you
go.
Oh, boo.
But no, I think that the thing with Brandon Miller is, I could see. I think best case scenario, you're looking at an all-star wing that is just like everything I just described, and worst case scenario, he's probably someone that's like an empty calories Brandon Ingram type, who I love dearly and will always hold a special place in my heart. And all the haters and losers are wrong about him, but that's probably the worst case scenario for him.
Yeah, I think Brandon Miller is gonna like turn. I think Brandon Miller's career is gonna turn on how good does Brandon Miller think he is? Does he get the Brandon Ingram disease where he's like, actually, I'm a number one option? Because that's not true. Like, that's never going to happen.
His idol is Paul George, and Paul George has been pretty aware of who he is.
That's what I'm saying. If he became, I'm much higher on him if he sees himself as like a Paul George type guy, especially late career Paul George. Like, if he sees himself as early career Paul George, that maybe is a little bit more concerning, because Paul George was like
the best player in an Eastern Conference Finals team. Yeah.
Yes, and he's not that level of talented. But if he's like a connective passer guy who like hits his shots and like hits 18-footers like in weird spacing, like I don't know, and he's probably the Hornets' best young player. I mean, I know LaMelo Ball is under 25. We'll get to him later.
I have LaMelo Ball higher on my list, but it's starting to get to the point where if he has another season like he just had, that I'm like, it might be time to give up on the idea of what we thought LaMelo Ball was going to be.
He's probably the most untouchable person on their roster in terms of trade talks. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, after his rookie year, just as I've talked about, the reason why you draft and the reason why I in retrospect understand the way they did, despite like, I'm not even just saying because of the way that Brandon Miller and Scoot's rookie seasons went.
Yeah.
Scoot is still like 2 years younger than him, I think. But I do think that the fact that you can't acquire these kind of wings if they hit. You just can't acquire a 6'7", 6'8" guy who can, right? He's 6'9". Like, yeah, I mean, like, you just can't acquire Brandon Miller if he's as good as he's shown so far in his college and NBA career. So that is why. And honestly, there's an argument that he should be higher on this list, but I think the fact that he wasn't quite as productive as what it seemed like, and by the way, wings take a long time to develop. We've talked about this kind of all the time. They usually pop when they're like 25, 26, and we're years away from that for Brandon Miller. Sky's the limit for him. But for right now, from what he's shown, like good handle, good passer for a wing, or at least has shown some passing flashes. And then creator shooter with defensive potential. Like, these are the guys you can't acquire. So I understand why they took him at 2, even though I was wrong about that. I had him like 5 on my board. And I'm excited to see what he looks like going forward. So who did you have at 19 on your board?
Knight. Let's get it going. We're an hour and 18 minutes into the podcast. Let's get it going. I had one Mr. Cade Cunningham.
I have Cade at 18. So we had same exact range for him. What is there to say about Cade that hasn't already been said on every NBA podcast, including our own ad nauseum for the last 2 or 3 years. We've been
Hoggies know how we feel about him.
We have planted our flag in. He has been largely overrated by the NBA media, by draft Twitter, all of that shit. Having said that, the Pistons are a fucking tire fire.
Yes, they are.
And he at least showed progress this past year. Like, as a guy on a bad team that I looked up his stats. This was what was probably most impressive to me about Cade, who once again we've been lower on than consensus by probably more than any other podcast that exists.
Yes.
But from December 1st on, he averaged 22.8 points per game on 46, 36, 86 splits with a 7.7 assist to 2.9 turnover ratio. And they had 111 offensive rating with him on the court, which is not good, by the way. I just want to point out that's a bad offensive rating.
Yes.
But they had 106 offensive rating with him off the court. So it was 5 points better per 100. And he showed progress. He had a very slow start, and I was like, man, this last time when we talked about this, I don't know if you remember this, but I was like, I still had him on my list, and you had him off your list entirely because it was like, you were like, it's year 3. He hasn't really shown any progress. He still turns the ball over way too much. The shooting hasn't been quite as good as everyone thought it was going to be. He improved at those things. Now the finishing is still bad. The overall level of athleticism for a lead creator, not great. Like, you need to be really, really athletic to be a lead creator. The only thing that he really has going for him is he's still a great passer. He's still got great touch in general from the free throw line. The 3-point shooting got better as the year went on.
I still do think he's probably going to end up being a good shooter, or at least average.
Yeah. I mean, if he isn't, he's going to be one of those weird outlier guys that's like a really good free throw shooter that is just not a good shooter in general. But once again, the hope with Cade is that he can become more of an ancillary player where it doesn't have to be heliocentric around him because he's just not that level of player, and it's really hard. There's only like 3 of those players really ever. Like, it's not even Cade slander to say like he's not peak James Harden or Luka Doncic.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't like. They're trying to make it. They're making him heliocentric because it's literally the only chance Detroit has to like not be terrible.
Yeah.
And it's not good for him because he's not a number 1 option. I'm sorry. Like we've got to like stop. He could be a good like 2nd or 3rd best player like on a decent team, I think. But like
the shooting's got to get better, and the defense has to get back to where it was when he was a prospect.
Yes.
Because the defense was not good last year.
No.
And he put on weight in order to guard up, which is the dumbest advice. Whoever gave him that advice should be in prison. Because it really affected his mobility, and like he needs to be hyper mobile if he's going to be a lead creator that's also decent on defense. And like, once again, I don't think Detroit did a good job helping him this offseason. Ron Holland, I like Ron Holland as a prospect. That is the worst case scenario for everyone involved.
Ron Holland.
You got Tobias Harris in the fucking like. You acquired
free Asar and Ron, dude. Oh my God, Asar, Ron, and Tobias. Oh God,
Asar, and then you like Malik Beasley signing was fine. I think they need spacing, so sure, whatever. Yeah. They need a guy that will just put up a ton of threes, and then the fucking the big situation like Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren, you got to figure out what they're going to do, which, by the way, I don't really think that Isaiah Stewart is like a stretch big by any means. They'll probably play him at the 4 some.
This is the thing we disagree on. I think he's fine. I think he's fine at the 4.
Okay, here's the thing. He's not a stretch big. We could disagree on everything. In order to be a stretch big, you have to be respected from 3. He will never be respected from 3. Now, he might make threes, but he's just not going to be a guy that takes... He's not going to be Miles Turner, Brook Lopez, Karl Anthony Towns. Like, that's the difference. And the thing with Duren is like, he had a really bad year defensively last year. Maybe that improves with a new coach and just a sense of like, they'll have good defensive wings with Holland and Nassar if they can ever figure out a way to play those 2 non-shooters together, which is just going to be tough with this team. But long story short on this, like, there's still such a far way to go. And I wouldn't have given Cade a max based on what we've seen so far. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think it's going to be a situation where they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA again. And I think that their only hope in becoming better is if any of these guys can learn how to shoot, like, which does not really see, not Cade. I'm talking about like Ausar and Ron and those guys, like, because they all need to be able to play together. The one thing I will say is that I hope that they can get out running more this season, because that will help boost their offense. And at a minimum, they'll have a ton of athletic guys on the court that hopefully can cause turnovers and get them out running.
They didn't fire Monty, right?
No, they did. JB Bickerstaff's their coach.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, what? Okay, but hold on. Let's talk about the JB Vickers. We never talked about it on the podcast. Who else were they going to get? They tried to get other coaches.
Somebody who's not a guy who's been in the league for a billion years and has failed ever. I don't think it's JB Bickerstaff's fault. He's a fine coach. But like, why not try for a Will Hardy type hire, or like somebody,
an assistant that, hire like Charles Lee or something, like
yes,
an unknown.
Exactly. Yes,
I'm sure they tried. I really do think that they tried a bunch of different shit and just none of it. Like, people just don't want to go there. And then, now, once again, maybe, obviously, maybe if they had interviewed Charles Lee, a year ago, if I remember correctly, Charles Lee was on the final interview guys that they did. I think it was like Monty Williams, Charles Lee, and Kevin Ollie, if I remember correctly.
Kevin Ollie.
And Troy Weaver wanted Kevin Ollie, and the owner wanted Monty Williams. So they gave him that huge fucking bag. And then after a year, he's gone. But I am starting to believe the anti-Cade conspiracy theory from listener of the show, Piss, who is like, they're literally just doing everything in their capability to just cover up for Cade. Like drafting Ron Holland, another non-shooter, getting Tobias Harris, bringing in JB Vickers. It's never his fault.
God, poor Cade. I don't know. It's not going to happen for Cade in Detroit. I think they need to rip the Band-Aid off. I think they need to trade him somewhere. And by the way, I don't think it's a bad idea
for another year, because they just extended him. So
yeah. I think it's a good idea to trade Cade. I think it's a fine idea for a team to trade for Cade, because I think in a totally different context, it would work a lot better. I think this is such a bad situation for both parties, because the Detroit can't move on while they're convinced that Cade is their franchise player, and Cade isn't good enough to be a franchise player.
Let's hope that they're bad enough that they can get a Cooper Flag in the next draft, is what I'm saying. Like, you get Cooper Flag, and then you can maybe have some sort of pathway to relevancy.
That would be that's the darkest timeline to me. That would make me so sad if Cooper Flag ended up in Detroit.
I think that would be awesome.
What? No.
Yes.
Oh my God. No.
Where's he gonna go at the top of the draft next year?
I don't know. The Spurs.
The Spurs going to be bad enough to have the number one pick? I guess.
I would rather have him on the Blazers. At least the Blazers, he would be surrounded.
Blazers are way more competent than
NBA. NBA, way more NBA talent. He'd be better on the Wizards. I'd like the Wizards a lot better for him, because that's like a barren roster. Who fucking cares? Like, I don't know. The Nets, make him a net. Let's go. Detroit is the last place I want him to go. Adding him to the Ausar, Ron logjam with no spacing. That's like the only thing I'm not sure on with Cooper is his shooting.
I'll say this: I think a year from now, the Detroit's rosters, whether they like it or not, is going to look very different.
It should. I don't know if they're going to though. Does Trajan Langdon, is he built like that?
We'll see.
Yeah, is he built like that?
No. Okay, so you had Cade that was 19.
We're an hour and a half in, by the way.
I don't care.
It was 19.
I had Cade at 18.
Yep.
Okay. Who do you have at 18?
At 18, I have the aforementioned Amen Thompson.
Okay, so we already talked about Amen.
Yeah.
Who do you have at 17?
I have one Mr. Derek Lively at 17.
Oh, okay. I have him a little bit higher.
Okay, interesting.
But I mean, Lively is probably the one that has another guy that has just moved up so far in my mind because of the situation that he went to.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, cool. What is Derek Lively really good at? Okay, he's going to roll to the basket. He's going to catch lobs. He's going to be a great versatile defender that can protect the rim. And he got drafted to the team that has Luka Doncic.
Yes.
Literally perfect situation for him to be impactful immediately.
He's a good NBA starter. He's also a rookie coming off a rookie year where he got to split time with another competent NBA center, like at least later in the year, in Daniel Gafford. Like, he's very good. I would like to see it for another year before I anoint him any higher than this.
The reason why I think I'm probably so high on Lively is because I thought he kind of sucked in college.
Yeah.
And the fact that he went from being like not very good in college to like legit NBA player as a rookie, as a big at 19 years old is incredibly impressive to me. Like that is something. And once again, part of it is the fact that it was his context that he was drafted to, but the other part of it is like not very many guys that are like legit. He was like, I really was not impressed with him at all in college. I know he had like flashes and moments, but like I was shocked how good he was as a rookie. And I
didn't really like that pick for Dallas, to be honest. I thought there was another center on the board I would have rather than taken. I'm trying to remember who it was. There was another center in that draft. I can't remember, but sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who was in that range.
Yeah, let me.
Because he was the 11th pick in the draft, I think.
Yeah. No, was he 11? I thought he was 17.
In the draft, Lively was the top. In the 20.
Yeah, 12. He was drafted 12.
Oh yeah, they moved down. They moved down 2 spots.
Yeah, wait, who was
a spot? Maybe.
I think I liked Noah Clowney more than him, is what it was, which is embarrassing. But
yeah, I mean, Lively was much better. But Clowney also, not to offend Will here, Clowney's got some time to cook this year.
Yeah.
But Lively. Here's the thing with Lively. Once again, to go from being shitty for a good chunk of his year at Duke to being a good NBA player, and then also like I don't think he's going to become a shooter, but like the fact that he is even willing to take threes at his age and like wants to like develop that part of his game, then he could be a monster, because that's like a skill set that doesn't really exist in the NBA.
Yeah. I want to be clear. I still think he's an awesome player, and like everything you're saying is true. I just like, how often do we see guys who like have awesome rookie years and they come back and it's like,
Walker Kessler was the example of that I would have, was super productive as a big. I think Mitchell Robinson was the one that Will always like to use, where it was like it's not to say Mitchell Robinson's bad, it's to say that where he was at as a rookie, everyone was like, wow, this guy's gonna die, and then he just kind of was like pretty good, and that's that. There is an outcome where that is the case with Lively. I just think that like Luka can turn good role players into star level impact guys, and I think that he will have at a minimum a star level impact in his role with the Mavericks, and if not, the ceiling could be even higher if he can. I mean, good passer for a big, like he's just. I think he's an overall very good basketball player with great tools, and
I think he's like on track to be like a top 5 NBA center for a long time. The
in that range, I think.
How important is having a top 5 NBA center?
Well, we'll see. Bigs are getting better is the thing. Is like there are a lot of good bigs now, and also bigs are changing in a way where like really like this Jokic and Embiid level big that like have reached like these MVP heights.
Yeah.
There's not many of those guys coming up. They're all the 5s now are like fucking like sticks compared to those guys.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'd rather have Lively than like Jaren Jackson Jr., for example.
That's fair. Yeah.
I want my bigs to be able to rebound. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So okay, so you had him, that was 18
17. 17th thing.
Okay. So I have him up at 15. So I'll talk about my 17 right now.
That's still really close. I thought you meant like 11. 15, we're still within 2 of each
same
other.
range, yeah. I have Trey Murphy at 17. So
how dare you?
Talk to me about why you love Trey Murphy so much.
You know what, though? I'm realizing I have Trey Murphy at 15. So
okay, so yeah, I was going to say it's like same range.
Yeah.
Once again, Trey Murphy really like valuable player to have, like super tall, can shoot the shit out of the ball, 6'9", capable defender. I thought he was going to be better this past year, to be honest with you. I think that he was the guy that I probably had the highest expectations. That I think I had him in like the 20 in this range last year. I felt like he could have made a leap. I still need to see that from him. And like, I don't think that he's going to get that opportunity with this Pelicans team.
The bastard CJ McCollum is dead. Now, they did replace the bastard CJ McCollum with the bastard.
CJ McCollum's still on the team. He's
God, that's
true. All Trey Murphy is going to get.
They need Brandon Ingram off the team. Why is Brandon Ingram still on the team?
You tell me. This has been my complaint the whole offseason about the Pelicans. Is how can you build a roster with so much talent and then turn around and be like, we have no centers, and also we have to force Trey Murphy into the rotation somehow.
It's so annoying. They have Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, which is like the best like role player baseline you can possibly get, and they're still fucking it up. Like, it's so frustrating. Like, it's like team building is for free at that point. You just need to find a good center, power forward, and point guard. The easiest things to find in the NBA. You could have anyone. God, they should have gotten Trae Young. I'm so mad they didn't get Trae Young.
So right now he's 24 years old. Wings, yes. I usually, like I said, like I want to see a wing really pop when he's 25 to 26. So in this next year or two, will tell us. I want to see him. I think defensively he's good. I don't think he's great. I think offensively, to have a guy that size that can really shoot the shit out of the ball is just incredibly valuable to have. And once again, will fit on any team, blah, blah, blah. But he's the one that I would like to see a little bit more out of. Like, I would like to see what happens when he is able to cook a little bit more. Like, I just want to see what it looks like. Like, if he isn't that guy offensively, then he isn't that guy. But like, really high level finisher, really high level shooter, good size, and we'll see with him. But I'll be honest, I could see him dropping further down my list if we do this exercise a year from now, even though he will be 25. But for right now, I'll keep him at 17 just because I love the idea of what he can become. But who is number 16 for you, or maybe 17?
Nope. 17. Well, 17 and 15. You and I just had Derek Lively and Trey Murphy swapped, which is very funny.
That is funny.
16. I have Jalen Johnson.
Okay, I have Darius Garland.
Wow, interesting. I'm higher on Darius Garland than you.
Okay, here's the thing.
Yep.
I could be wrong about Darius Garland, and maybe last year was an aberration and that he'll get back to where he was 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yep.
But he makes $40 million a year. So what team is going to just be like, give me Darius Garland? I don't think he's going to be maximized on the Cavs. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I don't think that he is. I've heard some people make the D'Lo comparison. I don't think he's that player. I think that but like, there are some similarities at a minimum. Like, really struggled super early in their career, had a great year and made the All-Star team. Really high level shooter, really high level passer. Like, I think Garland is better than D'Lo, but there's a world where that could be the case for him. And that's why I'm giving myself a little bit of breathing room here by dropping him down. I think I had him a little bit higher on my list last year. Yeah. I'm putting him at 16. He's still a good player, but like, doesn't really fit on that Cavs teams with Donovan Mitchell as much. He isn't maximized at a minimum. And I don't know which team is bending over backwards to try to give up value to trade for him and then pay him $40 million a year.
I had Garland 10. So this is our first. Wow. This is our first pretty.
I'm shocked that you had him that high. This is last year you made fun of me for having him at 13. And then he had a worse year than he's ever had. He did break his jaw though.
So that's what I was gonna say. Is I let Bill talk me into the like he broke his jaw year from hell, Russillo, because they make excuses for Darius Garland like nobody's business.
Oh yeah.
Like Darius Garland does probably get the most benefit of the doubt of any player this side of Cade, in terms of like people making excuses for him. Like, look, I do think Darius Garland like kind of has a little bit of the Trae Young thing to him, where it's like he's not as good as Trae Young. He's probably not as bad of a defender or as hopeless as the case, but it's the same type of thing where it's like, how good can you really be where you have this guy who's very small, kind of needs the ball a little bit to be maximized, and you just nailed on everything. Because I guess that's the thing, is I am probably lower on Garland's career trajectory because I don't see a way he ends up off the Cavs now at this point. Like, I think it would have kind of needed to have been this offseason and really happen. So if he's on the Cavs, I like that a lot less because Donovan Mitchell's locked in long term.
Yeah.
maybe it gets a little better with some spacing if they like swap out Jared Allen and like turn Mobley into a full-time 5, but like that's not great. That said, he is a good shooter. I think he is like a really good playmaker, and he did just have a year from hell, and he was still pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I still do feel like that this was like the worst we're ever going to see Darius Garland be, and he was like fine. He was still like above average point guard. So
I did realize halfway through this conversation that he did have one really good game in the playoffs against the Celtics, and that might be influencing your opinion here.
That's probably part of it, to be honest.
Because Donovan Mitchell got hurt in that series, and once again, the thing is that like when one of their guys, it's so funny because everyone, I can't remember who said this, but I listened on a podcast and they were like, well, the Cavs had so many injuries last year and they were still good. And I'm like, yeah, but they were good because they had injuries.
We said this in the series where like, oh, they didn't have Jared Allen and they didn't have Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell. It's like, well, yes, because
none of these guys fit together.
And Mobley and fucking Garland looks awesome because obviously they don't.
And then when Mobley and Garland were out for a month, they won like 17 straight games, like or whatever that insane stat was. But it's hard for me to be like, okay, here's a guy who is like a potentially elite shooter and passer, and I just have to give up on him, but. I'm docking him a little bit for last year.
I'm just gonna say, here's what I will say, and I'm glad you brought this up. It was very impressive to me to see him lined up against Drew Holiday and fucking Derek White in a playoff series and still cook. That makes me feel a lot better about him, like long term. Like I've now seen him be successful at like the very highest level of playoffs, and it was not like it was. The fucking Lakers or some team that like doesn't have perimeter defense, like it was like a real bona fide, like awesome perimeter defense team, like two of the best guard defenders in the NBA who are bigger than him, and he was still successful. So
Sam just taking subtle shots at the Lakers. Amazing.
that was the team I thought of that had bad guards. Who else was I going to pick had bad guards as like a playoff team?
That is fair. That is true. Yeah. So who did you have at 16?
Jalen Johnson.
You already said Jalen Johnson. I have him a little bit higher, but same range. I have him at 14. So 16, I have Darius Garland, Derek Lively, who we just talked about, 15, Jalen Johnson, 14. So Jalen Johnson, let's talk about him. I have a confession to make.
Yes.
I went full Sam mode.
Okay. Let's go.
I was like, I was like racking my brain. Like, why am I so high on Jalen Johnson? Like, I've been I might have like psyoped myself to like believing that like he has this like potential, like real, like high star upside because of the way that he played and the way that he's progressively gotten better. And the fact that he probably should have been a higher draft pick than he actually was, in similar mold to Tyrese Maxey, where they both like went like 21 in the draft. Yeah. And then I looked up Jalen Johnson's best games this season on YouTube. January 10th, 2024, 25 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 blocks against the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
What?
Welcome to the club, brother.
I just want to say, Jalen Johnson is like the guy like everyone is fucking looking for. Big wing who can create, pass, rebound, shoot a little bit, defend. Like he's the mold.
I loved him last year. I think people are.
I didn't even have him on my list last year.
Yeah, I think I love and the reason I liked him last year is because I watched him in the playoffs against the Celtics. It's the same, and it was like very clear to me that guy's good. Like
I remember making fun of you for that, and you were like, "No, he's good." And then but on the podcast that we did last year, where you said Jalen Johnson at 23, I said I didn't have the balls to put him on there, but I like the choice. And now he has jumped all the way up to 14th on my list. Like I might be doing the thing where it's just like I'm bored in the offseason and I get enamored with a random player. He's the guy for me this year. And that's why I have him at 14, despite everyone else in his range having much more production so far in their careers.
Yes. He's been in kind of like a bad situation, but there's no reason he's not going to be bad. I think Jalen Johnson's like worst case scenario at this point is like Keegan Murray, or you know what I'm saying? But but he's a better passer and like
I almost
more
don't
of a-
think he has a comp is the thing.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing about him to me is like there's not really a lot of players like him in the NBA.
No.
Like what players are like all the things I just listed? Like he doesn't really have a ton of like weaknesses in his game, but isn't quite good enough to be like a number one guy, but like he's just a very interesting player. I think that's why I've just been so fascinated with him.
Yeah, he's like B+ at everything.
Yeah.
B+ at everything.
Yeah.
Which is like again at a big position of need. So yeah. Jalen Johnson, yep, I have him 16. We talked about Trey Murphy at 15 for me. Who do you have at 14?
I had Jalen Johnson 14. So I already said so. I had Darius Garland, Derek Lively, Jalen Johnson 14. Who do you have at 14?
I have a Cleveland Cavalier, Evan Mobley at 14.
I have Evan Mobley at 12. So I have him a little bit higher.
Okay.
I think we both had him in this range last year. I might even have him a little bit higher than I had him last year.
Yeah, I think I was kind of shocked how low I was on Mobley last year. Like when you read that off, I was like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, I was surprised by that too, but also like what has happened in this past year that makes me think that if anything, I feel a little bit like we were a little bit vindicated for being a little bit lower than him than consensus, just because we felt like the offensive game had not really come far enough. And I still kind of feel that way where like in order to maximize him similar to Garland, like it's when Jared Allen doesn't play, but also like then you have to worry about he's an offensive 5 that doesn't really have like a traditional offensive 5's like skill set. Like you want him to be like maybe we're trying to put him into a box that he doesn't quite fit into, but like if you're not a really good 3-point shooter and you can't space the floor, like you're just kind of like a pedestrian 3-point shooter. Like people were like hyping up because he made I only know this because he made a game-winning 3 against the Sixers, and I was fucking pissed after the game. Everyone was like, "Whoa, Evan Mobley can shoot 3s now," and he had made like 18 3s all year, and it was like March. I was like, okay, like I want you to be able to take and make the 3s if you're going to be a stretch big, and like he's shown a decent amount of touch from the mid-range and around the basket that like there is potential for him to still extend that range, but like we're going into year 4 now, and like he's still a limited offensive player, which is why you have to play him at the 5. Isn't a great rebounder for a 5, and defensively he's awesome, but like he's probably one of those guys that gets more valuable in the playoffs with his defense because he can switch and he can do all that shit. But like, is he good enough to be like a 2-way offensive 5 anchor? I don't know. Like I don't really know what to do with him despite him being so good when he was like really young.
Yeah, when he was really I don't really. And that's the thing is it's like I still haven't like we at least saw him have good, really impactful games like in the playoffs with like Jared Allen out. Like he did look at least the part, which like answered that question for me because like I was really spooked after last year. I was like, oh fuck, what if this guy sucks?
Yeah, sure.
But now we at least have that floor on him. So like, you know, I think Evan Mobley might not just. You know, maybe he's not a star. You know, maybe he's just like a really good, like 4th best player on like a really good team. You know what I'm saying?
Remember Tim Bontemps calling him Derek Favors and everyone getting fucking furious?
God, the GOAT.
The GOAT, dude.
The fucking GOAT. Called it again!
Favors.
God. Bontemps can't be defeated, man. That's why he's the only ethical NBA journalist, my king.
But it's funny because people took it as slander when he said he might just be Derek Favors, but nerds love Derek Favors.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if you, like, I remember Derek Favors always graded out analytically better than people thought. Yeah. He was kind of a nerd favorite for a while in that, like, range of, the difference to me is that I do think that Mobley has potential to be, like, a special defender still.
Yes.
He's still very young and will get better and is already a very good defender.
Yes.
But I think that, like, I think that people took that as slander because they don't remember that a lot of people like Derek Favors. Like, it's not like he had like a bad career.
You have no idea how much nerds love Derek Favors. Oh my God.
Bobby Marks drafted him because he thought he had the most trade potential. But genius drafting strategy.
I didn't disagree. I didn't like totally. I actually really like.
Boogie Cousins was on the board though. If you're going just based on like pedigree, name recognition, and trade value, I feel like Boogie Cousins had to be the guy that you draft there.
Yeah, you probably should have. Yeah, they probably should have. I didn't like mind the pick. I thought it was like fine because
at the time, this is a little bit of revisionist history. But if your idea was just to draft a guy for trade value, Boogie Cousins should have been number one. I think.
Now, I was not as smart about the NBA then. This was like right when I was getting into the NBA.
Oh, I was very stupid, but I loved Wall and Boogie in that draft because I was like, they're hoopers.
That was what I was going to say. My take then was like, is Boogie getting a Wall bump? Because I loved John Wall in that draft.
Yeah.
I was like, John Wall is by far the best player in this draft. Like, he's going to change the franchise. And he kind of was. That's like kind of the crazy thing about John Wall is he actually probably was exactly as good as advertised, but like, it's just point guards. Like, how good can point guards be? And he couldn't
also
shoot.
Two things: the fact that he couldn't shoot, and also the injuries. Like, I mean, like
the injuries are what it was. Yeah,
really, and like when you rely so much on your athleticism as much as he does, it's like there's such a small window for error, and he had 2 back-to-back devastating injuries. And also, I just want to point out with John Wall, I talked about this with my dad the other day, and I was talking about how the John Wall pick is probably the worst case scenario, despite having a very good career, like fringe Hall of Fame level player. Probably, I think he made like 5 All-Star teams.
Yeah,
he'll never make the Hall of Fame, but like, there's a world where John Wall makes the Hall of Fame. Like, if he stays healthy, and he makes 9 All-Star teams. Yeah. It's possible he makes the Hall of Fame.
If he stays healthy, he probably makes the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
yeah,
and that might speak more about the Hall of Fame than it does about John Wall. But just hang with me here for a second. I was talking with him where I was like, it's actually kind of the worst case scenario to draft the John Wall because he's like the perfectly average number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Whereas you really want those like high end number 1 picks where like that, like change your franchise. Like more recently we've seen with like Wemby and Ant and those guys.
Yeah.
And like Wall was like perfectly in the middle of like not a bad number 1 pick, not a great number 1 pick. And he was so good that he actually got a 2nd and 3rd contract, which ended up making him a Supermax player when he was not a Supermax level player. And
part of that was the injuries, though. Like, I think
part of it was for sure. But like, I mean, he was the first guy I can remember getting a Supermax.
Yeah.
And like, that's the tough thing where like they ended up in such a bad scenario because not only because of the injuries, but also because he probably should have never gotten a Supermax. And like that him and Beal just made them too good to ever fully tank until they got hurt.
That's what I was going to say is specifically the impact. Because like Cat was good, but the Wolves still sucked. You know what I'm saying? John Wall was impactful enough to like make them
good enough floor raiser. Yeah.
That they were like the conference finals. Like Cat could still churn out these like empty stats fucking seasons that fucking like they still got to draft high, you know? So I
more of a ceiling raiser than a floor raiser type.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, but no, that was just an interesting conversation that I had the other day and I got a kick out of it. But okay, so we went through. I'm up to 13 on my board. Did you? You already said you're 14.
Yeah.
You had Evan Mobley.
Yes.
All right. So 13 for me is LaMelo Ball.
Wow. Okay. All right. I had LaMelo 9, which I didn't know what to do with him. I don't think you're wrong. Like I had no idea what to do with him. Like.
I mean, the fact that someone told me that Ben Simmons has played more games than him the last 2 years has kind of scared the shit out of me with LaMelo Ball.
It is.
In a world where we could turn off injuries, he would very clearly be in my top 10. Even with his flaws, even with like some of the defense shit and the fact that like he probably needs to have the ball more, like it's a 6'8" guy that's like an elite playmaker and shooter. Like
he made the All-Star game as a rookie in like recent NBA history when everyone has been good. It's not like they were the dog shit. I think he was one of the replacement.
We've talked about this before. Him and Zion were both in the 4 youngest players of all time to make the All-Star team.
Like it's so because that's the thing is he might be done already. Like he might be done.
It might just be Ben Simmons again, where he just peaks without the team that's good enough to make the playoffs type thing. Like they were like a play-in team when he was healthy, but like he might just never be healthy again. And if that's the case, I have to dock him a little bit, but like the idea of what LaMelo Ball can be is just far from what the reality is because he can never stay healthy. And Billy said in the comments, even with his driving issues, that's on and off the court, folks.
Let's go.
He honestly, he really is a guy that like, if I remember correctly, he settled for way too many shots, like from like the mid range and pull ups, whatever. Didn't get to the basket or line nearly enough for a lead level creator, but he was so good and just had all the tools to be like a legit superstar level player. There was a time where we would take him over Anthony Edwards in a redraft.
Yes, pretty recently,
like 2 years ago,
3 years ago. Yeah, 2-3 years ago. Like, and yeah. By the way, thanks for the correction, Bill. Yes, it was his second year, not his first year. I think. Yeah.
But anyway, still, sophomore
really
year,
good.
Not a lot of guys make the All-Star team in their sophomore year. Like, that's a very rare thing. Almost everyone who makes the All-Star team in their second year is a Hall of Famer, except for Ben Simmons.
Yeah, the talent is. I mean, we're gonna get to Zion. It's a similar thing to the Zion thing, where it's like I have no idea what to do with it. You know, like I think if LaMelo were on another team that wasn't Charlotte, like I really wonder. It's tantalizing. I went with 9. I kind of regret it now. I don't know, but
here's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to go full boomer here. I think it might be worse than Zion because I don't know if LaMelo gives a fuck. Like, I think that Zion, we had this exact question last year, and I think he kind of proved that he does give a shit a little bit.
Yes.
Like he very obviously was in the best shape of his career, at least at some point this season. Played his way into shape. It's similar to the Embiid thing where like they can't really put too much pressure on their body in the offseason, so they kind of come into the season out of shape and then they play themselves into shape. Luka does this too, but that's more of a choice, I think, from Luka. But Luka just likes to have fun.
Luka might be heavier than Zion right now.
Dude,
just saying.
I saw the photos. I mean, it was startling. But I mean,
that's the biggest case for racism right there. That like Luka, people are giving Luka shit, but Zion loves New Orleans. Well, Luka's
starting to get it now, but the difference is that Luka still dominates in the playoffs. Like
Luka looks like Mike Myers in the suit in fucking Spy Who Shagged Me. I'm just gonna say.
Someone said Luka's built like Russillo. It's offensive to Russillo.
Yeah, Russillo's in pretty good shape, I think.
No, I was gonna say the thing with Luka is, I mean, he can basically dominate despite all of the things that we just talked about.
Yeah,
he's basically calling his own body and saying, "Raise my rent. I want to grind harder." We did see Jokic used to do this too. People forget, but Jokic came in
for a center though. A center is different. Like you're a guard, man.
And that's the difference between even Zion and Embiid and Luka is like all of those. They don't want to put too much pressure on their body because they get injured a lot. And the thing is like Zion finally showed that he gave a shit, and I don't know if LaMelo is LaMelo came from a famous family, had all this success, was rich before he even made it to the NBA. Like, there's a possibility he just doesn't really give a fuck and is just going to cash out, which is a shame. He's an awesome fucking player and he's so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had LaMelo Ball at 13, Evan Mobley at 12.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had LaMelo at 9, which is probably a little high, like if I'm being honest. But like I don't really know what to do with him, man. Like to be honest, I just like I'm looking at some of the other guys and I'm asking myself, who would you rather have? And like I don't know. I still believe in him in spite of all of this stuff.
So who did you have next on your list after I believe Mobley was the last one?
Yeah, Mobley was the last one. I had 13, I had Alperen Şengün.
I have Şengün a little bit higher than this. I have Şengün at 10, but like I can hear out the argument because he's very good and productive.
Yes. I think he's a little bit of a nerd. I think this is a classic looking at spreadsheets bump that he gets like a little bit. Like,
see, I thought that was the case, but like when I was watching Amen Thompson highlights earlier, literally all of his buckets, his easy buckets, came off of like great reads and passes off of double teams from Şengün. And I know they run a lot of offense through him, so that might just be kind of like a little bit of like confirmation bias on my part, and just like obviously small sample of watching a bench player that was a rookie last year play off of the quote unquote star player on the Rockets, but like hyper productive, and like I don't know what to do with him because like he's not he's not even Jokic on defense. Like, he's not 7 foot. Like,
Yeah.
And Jokic is the best offensive player we've seen recently.
That's what I'm
So,
saying.
like,
I feel like there's a Jokic aspect to this too that kind of gives Şengün a little bump. He's very good. Like I think it would have been very silly of the Rockets to trade him for, a lot of guys, except for Trae Young. I think they should have traded him for Trae Young. But like, it would have been silly for them to trade him for like a lot of guys. But it's like, can you do? Like, how good can you be running offense through your center who's not Jokic?
Embiid and Jokic are the only two where that's really the case at all.
Like, do we think Şengün is like an MVP level talent like those guys? And if the answer is no, then what's Şengün's role on a good team? How does he help you on a good team?
That is true, but also he's like very good on offense for a 21-year-old center.
Yes,
is the thing, like, he's very good, and like, I just don't know what to do with him because, like, Houston really didn't have like a normal semblance of a coach or a roster until this past year, and they were pretty good. And like, I think someone had said on Twitter that like their offense was better when Şengün was off the court offensive rating wise. But I do just want to say, I think that's more so I have no actual factual data to back this up. But like, if I just had to take a guess, I would imagine it's because they run more when Şengün's on the bench, because they have all these athletic guys that just like to get out and run, which, okay, you could hold that against them. But also, like, in the playoffs, when the game comes down to the half court, like, you want to be a really good half court offense. I'm sure their half court offense is not better when Şengün sits. And then more importantly to me is like, I think that the only reason I dock Şengün a little bit and why I have him at 10 is the defensive concerns as a center. But like, there's not many guys on this list that are more like center of an offense productive like he has been. Like, it's hard to hold it against him when he's so young and so productive.
I'm caving right now, by the way. I'm moving LaMelo Ball down. Şengün, I'm moving him into the Şengün spot. At 13.
Okay, so
he's
switched...
13. I moved him down to 13.
Okay, so LaMelo's we both have LaMelo 13 now, and now you have Şengün 9, and I have Şengün 10.
I have Şengün 12. I didn't like flop their spots.
Okay,
I just moved everybody up one.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I want to see what Şengün.
I was thinking about it. I was like, I actually would trade Şengün for LaMelo Ball. What am I saying? Like,
there's just the availability sake is like, it's like a massive gap. And like, there's a chance that like, despite like not being fucking Jokic, like, there's a chance that he's just like, he's very good at a lot of things. Like, he's great at creating for himself, can create for others, reads the game well. Yes. The only thing I would like to see from him, it's kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier, where like, I would like to see the 3-point shooting get better. And I would like to see the defense, like, how can they make it work with him as the anchor of the defense? Like, yes. I guess Amen is really great for him, and he's really great for Amen because, like, if you're going to have a limited defensive center, you want to have wings who can really defend and really rebound and, kind of fit in perfectly. And like I said earlier, when I was watching Amen Thompson highlights and I was just watching like some of his best games, like, he was working so well on those like Aaron Gordon back cuts, like where like it's just like easy offense for you over and over again. And like there's a chance that I think I had Şengün in this range last year too, that I think that I could see him moving up my board, and I could see him stagnating a little bit just because of like the limitations that he has despite the production.
All of my problems with Şengün are like kind of concern trolly. You know what I'm saying? Like it is very. We're talking about the highest level of players. Like, I'm really fucking splitting hairs. He's going to be very good in the regular season. He's a player that most teams are going to want on the regular season. All of my concerns are mostly about like playoffs and like the absolute highest level, and how does he fit into like a playoff style scenario is my concern for him. So,
and like, honestly, if we want to talk about like high upside guys, I do just want to like stress the fact that like we tend to do. I even do this. Everyone tends to overrate athleticism when it comes to upside and underrate production and pedigree. Like, Turkish League MVP has gotten better every single year, was in the All-Star conversation in his third year at 21 years old. Like, there's a world where Şengün's one of the 5 best players on this list.
Yeah.
And like, there's also a world where like those limitations you talk about, like when you get to the playoffs, just limit him so much. Like talking to Zian, who watches every single Rockets game, he basically said to me, like, the things that Şengün needs to get better at are like the shooting and the reading of double teams. And I'm like, those are the things that like every player gets better at. Like every player that has a baseline level of competence and like gives a shit almost always gets better at those things. And it just comes with more reps. And like, if he gets better at those things, then like you're talking about like one of the 5 best offensive centers in the NBA. And even if he has defensive limitations, I think there are ways to work around it. So he's probably the one that I had the most difficulty putting him, like figuring out a spot for him on my list, to be honest.
He's a tough one. He's one of these guys where he could do a Garland thing where I see him in one playoff series and he's fine, and I'm like, oh, okay, no, like I just need to see him in a playoff scenario.
Can I see it?
I'm concerned. Yeah, if he's good at it, I will be all in. I will. Şengün will rock it. He'll probably end up in like the top 6 for me if he's good in the playoffs. So.
Well, I hope we get a chance to see that next year. But the Rockets are the most interesting team in the NBA to me next year. By the way,
yes,
I think that,
I'm so interested. Yeah,
I'm very interested. I think their floor and their ceiling is very interesting to me. So I could go a lot of different ways, and I'm excited to see what it looks like. But
am I insane for thinking they could be like a 6 seed next year?
It's a little rich for me, but I don't know. Weird shit happens all the time. Like
it's kind of like a mass. The thing with the West is you've got like those top 3 teams. You've got the Thunder, who are obviously way above everybody else, and then you have like the Nuggets, Wolves tier. Then you've got this giant fucking blob of
where
teams.
I don't really know what to do with like the Mavericks, the Warriors,
the Pelicans,
the Pels,
Lakers, the fucking
like, I could honestly see
Grizzlies,
them being like a 6. Oh, the Grizzlies! I forgot about the Grizzlies. I could see it. It would have to take a lot of steps from their young guys, though, and I think Şengün's the most important one. Like Şengün can't be like in the All-Star conversation. He has to be solidly an All-Star in the West in order for me to consider them to be a top 6 seed for next year. So, okay. So 11. So I had Mobley 12. I had Scotty Barnes 11.
Scotty Barnes. Okay, interesting. I had him 8. So same-ish range.
He's another. This okay. So this is like kind of a tier for me.
Yeah.
The Şengün at 10, Scotty Barnes at 11, Evan Mobley at 12, LaMelo Ball at 13. Could see their careers going a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of different variables. With LaMelo, it's the availability. With Şengün, it's like the defense. With Mobley, it's the offense. Scotty, it's like, I actually think this was kind of offensive to Scotty, but like, did you see the interview with Aaron Gordon where he was like, I think Scotty Barnes could be like the next, like, goes to a team and plays off a superstar as like a 3rd best player and be like a high level impact guy in his role. And I'm like, Scotty's already made the All-Star team. Like, even if you think that was Mickey Mouse, like, he's very young, gotten better every single year, and is like,
it's not the most efficient, but he has been like a competent offensive engine for an NBA team.
Their offense was really bad last year.
It was bad.
We talked about it a year ago. It was like, I think they were like 27th when we talked about it.
But like, the Raptors are like quietly like Detroit level bad in terms of
the last few years. They've not been doing any favors to Scotty at a minimum.
Yes. I was kind of impressed that Scotty had like a pretty good bounce back year last year, because I was kind of, the sophomore year made me a little nervous.
I think I have him higher on my list this year.
Yeah, like I thought he did a lot better this year, and I like answered like a little bit more. I still don't think he's ever really going to be able to shoot. Like, and like, I don't want to like make the obvious Pascal Siakam comparison, because he's a better playmaker than Pascal was, I think, but he's probably not as good of a defender.
He's also so much better than Siakam was. I mean, Siakam was not good until he was like 25.
That's true, yeah.
And Scotty's 22. So like 22 to going on 23. So like that is the difference to me. But also, what has, like you said, has Toronto done him any favors? Can you build an offense around him?
The problem is that's not going to happen in the foreseeable future. They're locked into a pretty fucking dog shit team.
It's a very mid core with very few outlets to get like high enough in the draft or acquire a star player that isn't one of these guys, that like you're really banking on internal development, and I just don't believe in the internal development outside of Scotty, really.
Yeah. I'm really impressed with the way that Scotty can kind of watching Scotty can be a true like number one guy on an NBA team, and it doesn't make me like throw up. Like, which a lot of the guys
I don't know. I feel like it's got to go really well though. Is the thing. It's like how does it function in that way? And the Raptors have not set him up for that.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like Scotty could do that on a like more normal team that had like, for example, anyone who could hit a 3-pointer. Like Gary Trent is like the next best player on that like roster.
He's not even on the team anymore. He's in the Bucks now.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, and he's gone. Like so now it's like RJ Barrett, who's like a career like 32, 33, something like that.
I know he shot better with the Raptors, but in general, the larger sample has said no.
Like Quickly is quietly not a very good shooter either. He's like more of an on-ball guy.
I think he is a decent catch and shoot guy, but he just he takes more pull-ups if I remember correctly. I might have that wrong, but what are their starters going to be next year? Let's just think about that for a second.
Grady
Quickly is definitely starting at point guard.
Yes.
Shooting guard.
RJ Barrett.
You put RJ at the 2.
Probably.
You might be right, or maybe I honestly don't even know. Like they played Scotty at the 2 before.
Hurdle's their starting center.
Okay, so it's going to be Quickly, Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, Scotty, and Jakob Poeltl. So Grady is the spacer, but like Grady I know he played better down the stretch of last year, but was like pretty bad as a rookie. And I wouldn't expect like a ton from him in his second year.
I don't think it matters necessarily because a lot of rookies are bad. Like I think Grady could still be pretty good, but like you said, I wouldn't expect much from him. Oh no, never mind. It's fine. Jacoby Walter is on this.
Oh, there you go. Your guy.
Let's go. God, I can't wait for him to steal RJ Barrett's starting spot. This is going to be awesome for my agenda. I can't wait.
Bruce Brown's also on that team still somehow. Yeah.
I think the next line. Didn't they get Tavion Mitchell? Am I making that up?
They did. You're another one of your guys. I said we'll include him in the 30 under 30 list since he's already 26 years old.
Star in plain sight. And then my guy Kelly Olynyk. So
God.
Wait, hold on. Maybe the Raptors' second unit is my new team. Those are my boys, my dogs right there.
Has Masai been listening to the podcast?
Second unit. You can take those starters, set up Scotty with my second unit on that Raptors squad. They're gonna cook.
Scotty, another guy like Şengün, hyper productive his first few years in the NBA, and like I don't want to discount that for long-term potential either. Like, very easily could make us look foolish if they continue on the trajectory that they've continued on so far. Like, they have the skill set and the production. Like, it's really just about like how do you maximize these guys? And I don't think the Raptors are going to do a good job doing that at all in the next few years.
I think like when we're talking about like Scotty versus Şengün, I don't think Scotty has the ceiling that Şengün necessarily has. I think Scotty probably
could just be more malleable.
Yeah, he'll probably end up having more of a Pascal career where it's like, he'll make an all-NBA team, like maybe 1 or 2. Yeah. Whereas like if Şengün hits his high-level outcome, like he could be like a genuine, like always second, first team, like but
he's productive and versatile usually is makes for long, good careers.
That's the thing is I think Scotty is always going to be able to play in the playoffs, which I'm not sure of at this point. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair. I'm banking a little bit more on Şengün's offensive upside, but once again, these guys are all on the same tier to me. Yeah. And then we move into the next tier of guys that I'm like, I've already seen them on winning teams, and I don't even have to imagine anything really. It's all just it's out in front of me. So
all right, my number 11. This is going to make some people mad. This is my new. This
Can
is
I
my
guess?
Contrarian zag. Yes.
Jalen Williams.
Correct.
Knew it.
You nailed it. Yep. Sniped from downtown.
Got him.
Jalen Williams is great. We need to take a step back about how great Jalen Williams is. I'm sorry, people are getting way too far out ahead of their skis about fucking Jalen Williams. He's very good. He's a good number 3 player on a number 1 seed. He's a great player. The way people talk about Jalen Williams is nuts. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he's like, this is an all NBA guy who's going to be. No, he's good. He's like a very good wing. I don't think Jalen Williams is ever making an all NBA in his career.
Okay, so for where Jalen Williams is today, I think people overrate him. For considering context, though, second year wing. By the way, I'm adding the Thunder to my Celtics, Jazz, Pacers, Thunder. If you're good offensively on those teams, it doesn't mean you're going to be as good on every other team that you play on.
Yeah.
Those teams all play 5-out offenses, which is fucking cheat code shit. And it makes it a lot easier for guys like Jalen Williams, who might have some deficiencies as like an on-ball creator and playmaker, like we saw in the playoffs, that don't really occur throughout the regular season because it's just perfect spacing at all times. And he can he's big enough, he's strong enough, he's athletic enough to get where he wants on the court. And he can score pretty effectively at all 3 levels. But the thing is, my thing with Jalen Williams is like, for how people talk about him now, I agree with you. For how I project him long-term, which is why I had him at number 9 on my list. And I do think just having a wing that is like good and competent on both ends of the court that can do all the things I just listed is it's a cheat code. And he's still 22 I think he's 23 next year, even though he was a little bit older on draft night. Like, these wings tend to take a little bit more time to develop. Like, I do just want to give a little bit of leniency to like the context of how good he was in his second season in the NBA on the first time he's ever played meaningful basketball really in his life. Like, that's the reason why I'm a little bit higher on him than you, despite only being like, I think 2 spots.
Yeah, it's only 2 spots. I mean, my difference with the Jalen Williams is I really don't see any like star upside with him. Yeah. But like that said, being a championship level wing is like so fucking valuable.
You don't see star upside with Jalen Williams?
Not like really. I think he needs like at least two players who are better than him at all times. I don't think if Chet suddenly wasn't on the team, I think his numbers take a huge hit.
Okay, in his second season, he averaged 19, 4, and 4.
Without Chet, right?
What do you mean? No, second season, this past year.
Oh, last year. Okay, yeah.
He shot 54%. He shot 40. Okay, the volume of 3-point, I want to see that go up. But he shot 42% from 3 on low volume, and then he shot 57% from 2 on 11 attempts per game. And also
awesome.
And then also his true shooting percentage was 62 on once again.
You're doing the Derek White thing to me. This is how the Derek White thing sounds to me.
What do you mean?
He's tall. He's tall Derek White, which is awesome. Like,
I mean, Derek White's a very good player. I don't know why you're like.
I don't think Derek White has star upside. Derek White's never making all NBA team, and that's good. That's fine.
Well, Derek White's also like 29. Like Jalen Williams 22, and has gotten better every single year. Keep in mind, once again, I talked about this a little bit with someone earlier. I can't remember who it was, but like, Jalen Williams was his first good year as like a legit NBA prospect was 2 years ago.
That's true. Yeah, he was really good.
His last year at college, great as a rookie. And once again, I think it's a little bit inflated because of the style that they run. But like, keep in mind, we're removing Josh Giddey from this team, and we're replacing him with Alex Caruso and Hartenstein, who are going to make life easier for all three of these young guys.
That's true. They did get a real big, like, and someone who can screen, which was the thing that drove me insane about them. Like, so that will help them quite a bit. I just think he's a little bit of a Shea and an SGA merchant. And I'm not trying to like slander J-Dub. I just like, it feels crazy when I hear
the media machine made him a little bit overrated, but in terms of production, age, context, all that shit, he's still very, very good.
He's still very good. Yes. He's 11. I have him 11 on this list. I have him ahead of Şengün. I have him ahead of LaMelo Ball and Mobley and like, all these other guys. So like
I think he's currently like the 37th best player in the NBA with potential to be like a top 20 guy for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say top 20 is probably a little rich for me, but like, yeah, that range, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so I have him 9. Who did you have at you
at 10?
moved your list around? Yeah.
No, that was 11. I just read Jalen Williams as my 11 guy.
Okay. So who do you have at 10?
At 10, I have one Mr. Paolo Banchero.
Okay, so you have Paolo at 10. I'll be honest, I have Paolo a little bit higher. I have him at 8.
Mm-hmm.
I actually moved Paolo down my list, which is weird because he made the All-Star team last year and averaged was great in the playoffs in that first round matchup against Cleveland. The efficiency it still has a long way to go. He takes a lot of mid-range shots and is not a great mid-range shooter, isn't a great finisher around the basket, but also the Magic have dog shit spacing.
This is what I'm saying.
It's like the opposite of OKC, where OKC spacing is so good.
I go in waves because I don't blame with Orlando. I don't blame the rest of the team. I pit Paolo and Franz against each other.
You're doing it's the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown thing.
Yeah, and it I facilitates man, Paolo would be so much better if he didn't have that Franz around him. And then right now I'm in a funk of. Man, I was gonna say would be so good if Paolo that Franz wasn't.
I was gonna say in the regular season you're like, man, Franz is the next. He's him, and then you get to the playoffs and then the Hooper gene pays off in the playoffs for Paolo. It did in this series, but the sample is so small that I can't really overreact to it. But once again, age, production, and I watched those games and I was just like, yeah, Paolo's just kind of him. I don't he has he's kind of like I said, any guy that's 6'10" with a point guard handle and is confident enough to do what he does.
Yeah. And he plays big. That's the thing. Is not only is he big, he fucking plays big. You watch him fucking physically dominate guys. It's kind of that Ben Simmons thing, but not playing in a similar way to Ben Simmons, but that same. I understand how much bigger and stronger I am than you.
You mean the greatest Game 7 player of all time, Ben Simmons, having just watched the Raptors Sixers Game 7 on the stream last night?
That's true.
So yeah, I want to see Paolo. I want to see what Paolo. I hope KCP helps their spacing.
Yes,
and I hope that it opens up things for both Franz and Paolo.
Yeah.
I have them very close on my list just because I don't really know which one. I'm kind of like you. I'm kind of flip-flopping back and forth between them. I like both players a lot. I've come down a little bit on Paolo, but you could talk me into him being higher on this list. But just based on production right now, there are guys I have to put ahead of him.
Yeah, for sure.
So you had Paolo at 10.
I have Paolo at 10. I have him a little lower because again, I'm being a calculator at the efficiency, blah blah blah. But ask me any other day, I might have him. Ask me one day, I might have him 5. Ask me another day, I might have him 10. We're getting into really,
a lot.
We're getting into really fine details. For right now, if you want to really split hairs, God, it's so hard. Paulo's so tough because he's so physically dominant. You just want to see the efficiency go up, but you also forget how fucking young Paolo is. He's 21?
21. Yeah, he was 21 in the playoffs. So you'll be 22 next year. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really fucking good.
I also really liked him as a prospect too. So it's kind of a little bit of I was right, but also it doesn't. Well, for what he can be long term, has not caught up to his level of production, but I think he will get to the point where he's
Yeah, and I was kind of out on Paolo that draft. I had Paolo 3 on the board, and then I watched him in 2 NBA games, and I was like, oh, okay, no, I was wrong. He's amazing.
Strong, good handle, decent touch. I wish his touch was a little bit better, and I wish he was a little bit more athletic. But also, he's not a bad defender. I think he has a rep as a bad defender. I actually think he's a solid defender.
He's so strong. He's strong and big.
It's kind of hard to fail when
you're a power forward. That's what's most important. Yeah.
So so I had Paolo at 8. I had Jalen Williams 9. You had Paolo 10. Who'd you have at 9?
Darius Garland, who we talked about.
Okay, and then 8.
8. I have one Mr. Franz Wagner.
Okay, you have Franz. I have Franz at 7. So I had them back to back. So I have both of them. Once again, I think that they could be interchangeable. Production-wise, Franz is way more productive. They're around the same age. Franz is sneaky, still kind of young.
Yeah.
Franz just got the max. The Magic are lucky to have both of them because I think that the fact that Franz had this dog shit shooting year this past year, And that's a concern if obviously he can't shoot long term. We've talked about that ad nauseum, but he's good at everything, and he's become improved inside the arc. Really good defender, really like decent guy that can play within a system, but also you can give him the ball and let him cook a little bit. There are indicators in the production stuff that like he might even have more upside than people think. But watching him, I think he's like a Swiss Army knife number 2 guy, like an elite number 2 guy in a good team.
Sorry, I read that off wrong. I had Scotty Barnes 8, which we talked about.
Okay.
Franz was 7, so I also had Franz
Okay, so we both had Franz 7.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And I had Scotty at 11 for reminder's sake. All right, so okay. So who did you have 6?
6, I had Mr. Tyrese Halliburton.
Okay, 6, I had Zion.
I had Zion 5. So
okay, so
very simple.
Once again, I think if you could guarantee me perfect health, I might have Zion higher, kind of similar to the LaMelo. Yeah,
I'd have him like 2 if you could guarantee.
Yeah, I think I'd have him 3. If you could guarantee me, him. So yeah, I mean Zion's great.
We've talked about Zion at nauseam. Again, watching him in that fucking play-in game again, I'm so sad that he got hurt. Man. He's so fucking good.
I know.
God damn it. Like I want him to be healthy in the playoffs like one fucking time. Like,
do we have more what if guys than ever in the NBA right now?
We really do.
We did the what if draft on the Patreon recently. Really? Like we've had fucking like we've already talked about LaMelo, Zion, Ben Simmons, who we've talked about on this pod. There are so many what if guys, like just from health and like weird shit happening.
Yeah.
That probably like I really do think that Zion would be probably only behind Wemby on this list if he never got injured.
Yes.
Like I think it's basically just what maybe Ant, like just because Ant's been so productive and he's awesome.
I think I'd pick Zion. Like
the only reason I think I still might go Ant is because I do worry about Zion's defense at the higher levels of the plays, and we're really getting nitpicky. Like we're really talking about like the best players in the NBA when you're getting to that point.
I just think Zion's ability to dominate a game, even though Ant is so good, is like like he's like LeBron level dominating a game when he's on. Like
I mean, we saw him do it against LeBron and AD in that play-in game where it was just like he had like a stretch where I was like, oh, this is why everyone loves Zion.
Yeah,
like, this is why Zion was as hyped up as a prospect. And once again, I think that he started to take his health shit more seriously this past year. Yeah. And if he's available more moving forward, if he can ever get to the point where he's healthy in the playoffs, like he's him. Like he's gonna be someone that is just fucking awesome for years. So you had Halliburton at 6, you said? Yeah. I'll save my Halliburton spot for a little bit. You had Zion at 5. Who do you have at 4?
I have Mr. Chet Holmgren, winner of the Owned by Ass inaugural award.
Careful there.
He destroyed me. Chet, nobody's owned me harder than Chet. Like, I gave up the ghost after watching one NBA game of him where I was like, oh, I was so wrong. This guy's awesome.
Chet
He's
rules.
so good. He's so good.
Honestly, I think I think Bill kind of cooked in the draft when he called him weird body Al Horford.
Yeah.
Kind of body shamey, but in terms of like, I don't think he's the level of passer that Al is, but in terms of like just being like a dynamic spacing center that has like crazy defensive versatility is on it, and he's honestly a better rim protector than Al is, but like they're different versions of each other. But I think that Chet has an even higher ceiling in terms of what he can become if he gets better as a creator and as a passer, and I assume he will. He's still 22. He's only played 1 year in the NBA, and he played 81 games in his in a season after he missed his entire rookie year. So the availability thing, I don't even care about that. That was a freak thing, I think. Yeah. And I think that he's just going to continue to get better. And I think we might have said this before, but like Wemby got hurt. Him coming in at the same time as Wemby was the worst thing that could have ever happened to him. Yeah. Because we would be so over the moon about Chet if it weren't for the fact that he was also a rookie at the same time.
Same time as Wemby, yeah. It's crazy. Like he's probably the best rookie of the last 10 years, like outside of fucking
well, second half of the year Wemby too, because I think overall Chet might have had a better year, but also he had the advantage of being a little bit older and
On a
sitting
better
out
team.
a year and on a good team. Like Wemby didn't have those advantages, and Wemby by the end of the year was very clearly the best rookie. Like there wasn't really a competition. But no, Chet rules.
Chet's good. The Oklahoma City Thunder version of Aquafina.
All right, let's go. Shooting hang poles, dude. Okay. Okay. So I have Maxey at 5.
Wow.
I have Maxey 5.
I have Maxey 3.
I have Chet 4.
Okay.
I have Halliburton 3. I have Anthony Edwards 2, and I have Wemby 1.
We totally agree on Wemby and Ant.
Okay, Wemby, Ant, Halliburton. So you have Maxey 3. I have Halliburton 3.
Yeah, we have Chet at the same spot. We both have Chet 4. So I just have you have Zion 6. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we just have Maxey, Zion, and Halliburton a little switched up. Maxey is 3. You think Halliburton's better than Maxey? That's interesting to me.
Yeah, I do. And here's the thing.
Wow.
I think that Maxey, and I love Maxey, like fucking obviously. He's been my guy since pre-draft. He drafted the Sixers. He's gotten so much better year over year than I could ever expect. But like, I think that Halliburton has somehow become underrated over the. I went from being like, okay, maybe I overrated him to a little bit to like seeing where people have him on this list. Like, the Pacers were good without him. I will admit to that. Like, clearly whatever they're doing with their 5-out system and Rick Carlisle and all the guys they have, they're still good without him. Nembhard scaled up. TJ McConnell scaled up. Halliburton, like, I know he had 1 or 2 kind of bad playoff games, and that was the thing that scared people off. And he had a stretch after his injury where he kind of shot like shit compared to where he was early in the year. He couldn't move quite as well. But, like, Halliburton is, like, one of the 5 best shooters and 5 best passers in the NBA. And that is a combination that I don't think that non-superstars have. Like, I don't think that there is really anyone that, like, he might be the best other than Jokic. And Jokic is in, like, is another plane. Like, in terms of passing and shooting combo, it's like Luka, Hallie, Jokic. Like, I do think that people undersell that a little bit. Like, and also he's unlike most of these guys that, and I'm not comparing him to Maxey, but I'm saying, like, unlike most of the guys that are like, I really like and are also like Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, all that stuff. Hallie, like, is really good off the ball to the point where, like, he can fit as a number 1 guy on a team that, like, can win a lot of games and, like, have a great offense. And also, I think could work off of superstars. Like, if he played with Embiid, I think he would be really good.
This is a good point. Halliburton's so good that he fits on teams as when he's on the bench, not playing for them. They're still very good. It's so interesting.
I'm not even doing a joke. I actually think that there is a little bit of
Don't
like,
say it.
No, I'm going to say, like, I think if you're a plug and play guy, then it can be beneficial because even some of the best players in the NBA, like, their teams don't know how to function without them. And I'm not saying I don't think it's like really like a point in Hallie's favor that he's, you know, like, his team is good without him. But, like, the fact that he can kind of seamlessly fit in on, off the ball, you can run offense through him, or you can literally just have him, like, roam off the ball because he's like a 45% catch and shoot guy and, like, will keep the advantage going in the possession if he gets it and makes the right reads. Like, I think Halliburton's become underrated by a lot of people. Like, he's fucking really good.
I've had my team play Tyrese Halliburton. I've had my team play Tyrese Maxey. I am so much more scared of Tyrese Maxey than I ever was of Tyrese Halliburton. I know that that's a Billism. I know that that's like not a real thing. It's not like real stats, but, like, I watched Maxey like it in a like pull a playoff game. That series would have been over if the Sixers lost that game. And he pulled.
He was amazing.
Victory,
like,
from the jaws of defeat.
Look, Maxey can make me look even, like, dumber a year from now. And, like, and I don't want to.
I don't think Tyrese Halliburton has that in him. I don't think he has the dog that Tyrese Maxey has. This is a dog, a dog conversation for me. And Tyrese Maxey, I know has dog, and is going to show up in playoff games and be amazing. And I don't know if Tyrese Halliburton's got that in him. He might just be a really good regular season guy.
Maybe, but also I do think that he establishes a floor in a way that Maxey can't. Like
that's true. That's
kind of the reality. Is like Halliburton was good enough to be the best player on a playoff team. I love Maxey with all my heart. I don't know if he's good enough right now to be that. Like maybe in 2 or 3 years from now, as he continues to get better, yes. And historically speaking, guys that are as productive as Maxey at his age tend to figure out the way to kind of reach that level. And I could be wrong. Like he could just be. What
I was going to say, to your point, I mean, Embiid went out and the Sixers fell apart, so we did kind of see that,
That team's. I want to give Maxey a little bit of a pass because I've seen people be like, "Oh, he was not good because of." I understand that. Mm-hmm. That team sucked last year without Embiid. Agreed. It was basically built on the fly. Honestly, Batum's probably our second best player, and he was kind of worthless without Embiid. And I think that Maxey now with this new team that's like better and has Paul George and all that shit, like. The advantage Maxey has is he might just end up getting so much better that he's like the best second option in the NBA. And right now he's in the top 3 or 4, I think, along with guys like Chet and along with guys like, I guess Devin Booker. Anthony Davis is a different kind of second option, but what I mean? Like in that echelon of player. Yeah. And I think that could be if I will completely eat crow on this, if Maxey 2 years from now is legit number one, we have a top 5 offense and he's the number 1 guy.
This is the biggest reverse jinx of all time.
It's really not. I swear to God, this is my real opinion. I'm not doing a bit. I put Maxey at 5. It's not and every player ahead of him is going to make the Hall of Fame. Maxey probably will too.
Yeah, my tier list, I had Maxey clear Chet and Zion and Tyrese because I've seen Maxey. My own thing of had a playoff moment as a top player on a playoff team, and none of those guys have had that yet. So
yeah, I mean, he was incredible at times in that Knicks series. I mean, and lost in that was he actually saved their ass in game 2, but then they fucking choked it away.
Yes,
he scored 8 points in the last 2 minutes of that game too, and hit 2 huge. He's nailed, dude. He's 100%.
I've last year's playoffs really sold me on Maxey. I'm kind of a Maxey guy now.
Here's my challenge for you, Tyrese.
Yeah.
For this next season.
Mm-hmm.
Get back to being a good pull-up shooter again because he had a bad pull-up shooting year. He was really good the year before in a minimized role. Get back to being that, and then also become a good playmaker and passer, not just a passable one. And that's what it would take for me to put him over anyone that I had ahead of him. But still my guy. Still literally my favorite player in the NBA. So
do we even need to talk about Ant and Wemby?
I mean, what is that?
Yeah. I mean,
Wemby is generational. Ant is already him. I mean, I know he fell apart in the conference finals, but averaged 30 points a game on good efficiency. He carried his team to the conference finals.
Beat Jokic.
Stamped and stamped.
Yeah.
Wemby is just a freak of nature. I don't even really know what to say.
Got to get those championships in now if you can.
I'm glad that we got our gold medal, and maybe the next 2 years is the window for the Sixers because I'm very scared to see what is coming next for the rest of the league.
Yeah.
So
only 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah. Everyone's gonna be like, you spent fucking 20 minutes on Jaden McDaniels and Devin Vassell. And then we get to the Wemby and Ant, and I'm like, what is there to say? They are them.
I stand by that though. You guys all know follow the NBA. You know those guys.
You get it. You followed for the other shit that we talked about. So anyway.
Exactly.
All right, let's get out of here. Thank you guys for joining. Take care. We'll be back next week. By the way, Tuesday, we have a fun surprise.
That's
Tuesday
right.
night.
Lock in.
You're not going to want to miss that stream.
Calendar. Yes.
Tuesday night. 7 p.m.
Let's go.
Peace.